So you are not audible.
All right, friends, good afternoon to all of you. It is indeed a great pleasure for me to deliver this session on a very important and vital topic of uh, technical skills as well as the soft skills for the IPs. Are you able to see my uh, PPT, everyone? Can
Yes, sir.
someone please confirm if you are able to
Yes,
see
Yes,
sir.
my
sir.
Yes, sir.
PPT?
Yes, sir, we can. Yes, yes, sir. It's showing.
Okay. So welcome to this session on technical skills and soft skills, which I prefer to call as life skills, because in my view, those soft skills are really speaking are life skills because they help you in achieving greater heights in your life. What we intend to do in this session from now till about 3 p.m. Till about 6 p.m. So let me tell you at the outset as to what's the purpose of this session. The purpose of this session is to empower ourselves with the various aspects of or aspects of IBC that requires technical skills, that requires soft skills for being able to deliver our role as insolvency professional. So the insolvency and bankruptcy code, as we all know, was introduced to address the critical objectives of resolving insolvencies and optimizing the utilization of non-performing assets for the betterment of the economy. Now, with this objective, the insolvency professionals, as we all know, play a pivotal role in ensuring effective implementation of IBC, Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code. This session aims to equip all of us and empower with essential technical and soft skills, enabling us to efficiently deliver our responsibilities and serve the interest of all the stakeholders, thereby contributing to the nation's economic wealth. So, friends, this is the purpose for which we have this session being delivered today. What we plan to cover in this session, what I have done is planned the entire session in a very systematic manner, in a very planned manner, so that all of us as the insolvency professional are able to gather as to what are the technical skills that we need for being a successful insolvency professional. And remember, not only we need technical skills, we also need soft skills, uh, and what those soft skills are. So when I'm appointed as the IRP or as RP of a corporate debtor, then what are the soft skills that I need to possess so as to be able to deliver the role and responsibilities which I carry as an insolvency professional? So what we have planned is we start with the purpose of IBC, just to be on the same page, every one of us. We discuss about purpose of IBC. Thereafter, we would look at the functions which insolvency professionals are to deliver, and also role and responsibilities. And please remember, there is a very distinct difference between functions and the roles and the responsibilities. And I'm sure we would be able to figure it out as we move forward. Thereafter, we would look at the circumstances and the environment faced by the IPs under the IBC ecosystem. So what are the challenges? What are the difficulties? What are the hardships? What kind of environment insolvency professionals are exposed to? That is what we would discuss so as to be on the same page and create a background that would facilitate absorption of all the technical skills that I'm going to share with you, and also the soft skills that I'm going to share with you. Then we would look at the tools to cope up with the challenges. So we understand that there are many challenges which the insolvency professionals face in discharge of their role and responsibilities. So what are the tools and techniques that they can use for being effective insolvency professional, and so as to cope up with those challenges of the insolvency professional per se. Now, first we look at the technical skills. As part of the technical skills, the first challenge, and I'm sure all of us are aware already, the first and the biggest challenge that an insolvency professional has when he is appointed as IRP and thereafter as RP, the biggest challenge that he has is to run the business successfully as a going concern. So, what does he need to be able to run the business as a going concern? That is what we would discuss. Under that, the first thing in my understanding, what the insolvency professionals, we as the insolvency professionals need is how to take decisions, or how the decisions are taken. As an insolvency professional, please remember, there are so many decisions that we need to keep taking right from the moment then when we are appointed as the insolvency professional of a corporate debtor. How to take those decisions, what is the guidepost, and what is the purpose of every business. And I'm sure, friends, once we understand this, it would be very easy for us to be able to perform our role and responsibility as an insolvency professional. Then how to control the operations. Suddenly you are appointed as IRP or RP of a corporate debtor about which you had no idea until the time you were appointed by the NCLT as the IRP or RP. Now, completely unknown business is coming in your hands to be managed, to be turned around, to be resolved, the insolvency to be resolved. Now, the first question that comes to your mind is, how do I control the business? How do I control the operations? So, what is that I need to do so as to be able to control the operations of that business? That is what we would discuss. Thereafter, we would be looking at the close management and monitoring of the cash flow during the IRP or during the liquidation. So, the biggest challenge that all the corporate debtors and the connected insolvency professionals have is the cash flow management. So, what can we do? What should we do? Or what can be done so as to have a better control and the better handle on the cash flow? That is what we would discuss, and how to monitor it. What are the tools and techniques of monitoring the cash flow? That is what we would look at. Efficient working capital management during the CIRP and the liquidation. Liquidation, of course, once it is liquidation, then the question of the WIP management may not arise, because you're not running the operations. You are only trying to liquidate the business. And but during the CIRP, working capital management can play a very important role, as much as uh, by deploying efficient tools and techniques of working capital management itself, you should be able to free up a lot of cash that can be useful to you in turning that business around. So, what is the basic principle that we need to keep in our mind as far as the efficient management of working capital is concerned? Thereafter, of course, as the insolvency professional, we have to manage the liquidity, we have to manage the profitability, we have to manage the leverage, we have to manage the efficiency, we have to manage the value creation. So everything we have to manage. And for that, we need to have good understanding of the financial analysis, and how this financial analysis can be used for the purpose of taking effective and impactful decision. That is what we would be covering. After that, we as insolvency professional, please remember, as insolvency professional something which is very, very crucial and very, very critical, and that is business valuation. I'm sure all of us are aware, in any case, the moment you are appointed as IRP or RP, it is expected from you that within 7 days of your appointment, or within 47th day from the date of the commencement of the insolvency uh, resolution process, we are supposed to appoint two valuation professionals. Uh, and remember, it is not a formality. It is a very, very important task, because it is on the strength of the valuation report that would be furnished by two of these valuers. You would be able to prepare information memorandum. And this information memorandum, remember, then is going to be the basis for you to prepare a plan as to how to turn the business around, and so also for the prospective resolution applicant to prepare their plan. And therefore, it is very, very important that if we are in insolvency professional, then we should have a very good understanding of the business valuation. Incidentally, as I know, as I am also, most of the or many of the insolvency professionals are also valuation professional, and I'm sure they would realize that they have a major advantage, when you are a valuation professional, because then the decision making becomes much easier. So, in case if you are not a valuation professional, remember, it is not a big problem. You just need to have good understanding of the approaches and the methods of valuation, so that the valuation professionals whom you appoint, they give you a valuation report which is as accurate, as precise as possible, so that you are able to prepare a very effective and a comprehensive information memorandum. And as a result of that, the prospective resolution applicants are able to prepare their plan. Then we will discuss about preparation of information memorandum. And once after the preparation of memorandum, then we will also look at as to how to prepare the resolution plan. How to prepare the resolution plan, because ultimately the end objective of the IBC code is to turn the companies around, turn the companies which are going through the insolvency, to turn them around. And for turning them around, obviously, you would need a resolution plan. So, how to prepare the resolution plan? What kind of information got to be there in the resolution plan, so that you and the COC are able to uh, evaluate those resolution plans, and thereby accept them, so that the further steps can be taken for turning the companies around. Now, this is, friends, what we intend to cover as far as the technical aspects are concerned. Or this, in my view, are the technical requirements that we need to cover. In case if you have anything to add here, you can please go ahead, and I like to give you a time of 30 seconds to add something that you would like to add. Anyone? Before I start discussing about the soft skills, I will not be able to see your hand going up. So you can simply unmute yourself. And after unmuting yourself, you can uh, ask your question. All right. Now let's look at the second part of this session, and that is soft skills. Remember, friends, as the insolvency professional, our task is truly Herculean, because what we are going to do, we are given the challenge, or we are given the assignment, or we are given the responsibility of turning a business around, which is in the process of becoming insolvent. And therefore, the resources which are available at our disposal are very limited in every respect, in terms of money, in terms of manpower, in terms of expertise, in terms of the technology, in terms of the product. In every respect, resources which are available are very scant. And yet we still have to manage and turn the business around with whatever limited resources are available with us. In that background, our soft skills, or as I say, life skills, are going to play a very important role in enabling us and empowering us in getting the work done from the people. And for getting the work done from the people, and remember, we are going to deal with all kinds of people. We are going to deal with the creditors, operational creditors, financial creditors, the employees, the management team, the other stakeholders, with the NCLT, with the lawyers, with the valuers, with the employees and surrounding area. So many people that we have to deal with. And everybody, because of the situation that the company is under pressure, and everybody looks at us as a savior. And therefore, it becomes very, very crucial for us to have life skills so that we are able to get the work done from the people. And in that respect, what we are going to cover in this session is we will look at the leadership skills, planning and organizational skills. And remember, it's very, very important because as a resolution professional, you have to do this so much of organization, so much of things that you have to manage. So we need to have organizational skills, and how do we build them? That is what we will understand. Communication plays a very, very important role. Just imagine you are appointed as the insolvency professional, and you go to the corporate debtor, and you told the board of directors, you tell the board of directors of that company that you are no longer the board of directors of this company, and I'm going to run this company now. The people who have been there, the entire board and the entire top team and everybody is shocked, and nobody would like you when you go there, yet you still have to communicate with them. It is quite possible, and there are umpteen of examples when our fellow insolvency professionals have faced difficult situations when they approach the corporate debtor. They were given very, very bad treatment. There are all kinds of stories, and I'm sure all of you must be aware as to what kind of things have happened with the fellow insolvency professionals. So you still need to communicate with them. So what kind of precautions that we need to take in communicating with the company management, the employees, and other stakeholders? That is what we would try and cover. After that, of course, presentation skills. As an insolvency professional, you have to make so many presentations in front of so many stakeholders, including the COC, including the prospective resolution applicant, and in case if you have to arrange the interim finance, then the people who are likely to give you interim finance. So many people that you would need to make presentation before. So how to be an effective and impactful presenter, how to put your point forward in a very effective manner, and what are the things that we need to take care. That is what we would understand. I'm sure, friends, most of you must have heard of this phrase called this term called emotional intelligence. In my experience as an insolvency professional and as a professional otherwise also, in my experience, this emotional intelligence plays a very, very important role in the life of an insolvency professional. All said and done, as an insolvency professional for a newly on a newly new assignment with a corporate debtor, you are facing all kinds of challenges, all kinds of difficulties, all kinds of problems, all kinds of hurdles, all kinds of roadblocks, blocks from everywhere, and which of course is going to cause emotional imbalance in your mind. And when that imbalance of mind will not only remain with you, but it will also pass in your existing organization, because you may be along with the insolvency professional. It is quite possible that you are practicing as a chartered accountant, you are practicing as a company secretary, or you are practicing as a lawyer, or you are practicing as a cost accountant. So it is quite possible that all that stress and the difficulties that you are facing in your new assignment will pass through or will get percolated to your existing organization. Now, how to ensure that it does not happen? And what is even worse, that it can also get to your family. So it is quite possible that this turbulence that you are passing through as an insolvency professional can also reach to your home. How do you ensure that it does not happen? And that is where our awareness about the emotional intelligence will ensure that we are able to keep ourselves away. We are able to compartmentalize the situation and our family and other professional activities. That is what we would discuss. How to do the time management, how to do the stress management, and of course, fitness, which in my understanding, in my view, is mother of all skills. And then, of course, we would discuss about something which is virtues and attitude of eklavya. So to be a successful insolvency professional, to be able to successfully execute insolvency resolution assignment, we also need a very, very important quality, same quality that Eklavya had. So, what that quality is, we will try and understand. And finally, of course, we will end the session with the lessons for the insolvency professionals based on my experience as an insolvency professional. So, friends, this is the plan that we have for next 3 hours. And again, I'm going to give you 30 seconds in case if you want to add something, you want to ask something, please feel free and you can unmute yourself and you can raise your question or you can make your point. All right. So if there's nothing, then we can go to our first topic. Now, what is the purpose of IBC 2016? We all are aware, but just to put all of us on the same page, what is the background of 2000, IBC 2016? Why IBC 2016 was brought in? Friends, I would like to take you back to the statement that our Prime Minister had made on the floor of Lok Sabha about 6, 7 years back. He made the statement on the floor of the House saying that when we came in power, we knew that our situation, our economic condition was not good. But when we came in power, we realized that our situation was not only bad, it was terribly bad. उन्होंने कहा on the floor of the parliament, he said that our situation was so bad that we could not even dare to tell it to the whole world that we are in trouble. Because if he would have told it to the world that we are in trouble, we are in a bad situation, the and the whatever cooperation that we would have received from other people, other countries, that cooperation also would not come. And therefore, soon after 2014, and this is the situation that I am talking about after 2014, the statement that he made, he said we kept strategically quiet about it. And he also said that we thought that our NPAs were to the tune of X amount. But when we went deeper into realize, since independence, our NPAs have been to the tune of 56 lakh crore. 56 lakh crore has been the size of our NPA since independence. And therefore, he said that there was a need for something to be done. And that is how, friends, the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code 2016 came into existence. Now, what was the idea behind Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code? The idea was two pronged. Number one, this 56 lakh crore or any amount is not a number. It shows that if so much of amount would have been productively used in the economy, then we would have become 5 trillion economy much before than today or then 1 or 2 years from hence. And therefore, it was thought that all the NPAs that we have in this country, they must be dealt in two ways. Number one, जितने भी NPAs हैं, जितनी भी कंपनी हैं जो कि इंसॉल्वेंसी की तरफ बढ़ रही हैं, the first thing that should be done is to initiate the process of insolvency resolution. And after making all the efforts, if it is not possible to resolve the insolvency of those NPAs, in that case, compulsorily let those companies go to the liquidation. And remember, it is not that the government wanted liquidation to happen. The liquidation was recommended as a second step, and that is because if a company is not getting, if the insolvency of a company is not getting resolved, at least the assets are being sold in the as part of the liquidation. And when the assets are being sold as part of the liquidation, somebody is buying them. And when somebody is buying them, what is he going to do with those assets? He is going to use those assets in his business. And as a result of that, all these assets which otherwise were lying idle would start contributing to the economy of the country. And that was the second objective behind the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code. And remember, and that is where we professionals, chartered accountant, cost accountants, company secretaries, and the lawyers should really thank the government, because the government placed trust and faith and confidence in we professional. And the government thought that insolvency bankruptcy code can be implemented, NPAs can be turned around, and this responsibility was given to the we professionals, that and the government had a confidence and the trust and the faith that we professional would be able to do our best, use our knowledge, expertise, experience, and help the NPs turning around. So this is the background, friend, as far as the purpose of the IBC is concerned. Now here I would just like to mention, now in hindsight, I always feel that the name of this insolvency bankruptcy code should have been rather, instead of the insolvency and bankruptcy code, it should have been insolvency and bankruptcy resolution code, because the focus need to be on the resolution and not on the bankruptcy or in the insolvency, because somehow it does matter as far as our thought process is concerned. So straight away, the name of the act itself, the code itself, should convey to the concerned people that the objective of this code is not to go for the insolvency, not to go for the bankruptcy, but to ensure that the bankruptcies and the insolvencies are resolved. So this is about the purpose of the IBC. In case if anyone has any question, any point to add, please go ahead and you can ask your question by unmuting yourself. Okay. So if there are no points, then we can move forward. Now, before we move forward, possession of good knowledge and sound understanding. So जब मैं ये program design कर रहा था, तो it came crossed my mind as to what all should I incorporate into this program. So then I thought that as far as as far as understanding of the IBC code is concerned, as far as understanding of the rules and regulations under the code is concerned, as far as the relevant case laws are concerned, I am sure.
Yes, sir. May
all
I
of
ask
you,
a question before this?
yeah, please go ahead. Okay, let me just complete
Okay.
this point. Just give me
Okay,
a point.
okay. Please carry on.
Yeah, I'll just finish it and then you can ask me.
Okay, please carry on.
So I just thought that the understanding of the law, understanding of the rules, understanding of the regulations, understanding of of the case laws is concerned, I'm sure all of you are already equipped with it actually. And therefore, I thought let me focus on other aspects that would help you in implementing the insolvency assignments that you would receive. Yeah, please go ahead. Please go ahead.
Yes. I have a simple query that uh, we are discussing on the background of this IBC code. Well, before the IBC code commences,
Hmm.
So now my question is whether we are able to achieve the goals which is targeted before the IBC course comes, or it is a very challenging question that are we are not lacking behind the achievement of goals that targeted to be achieved for IBC.
Okay, okay, I understand. So your question is whether IBC has been successful in achieving the goals for which it was brought out.
Yeah.
Now, in my view and in my understanding, I would say IBC has certainly been successful because as it stands today, to the tune of 10 lakh crore of NPAs have already been resolved. So the IBC has definitely been successful. There is no doubt about it. The only point is maybe it could have been more successful if some of the lacunas, some of the deficiencies would have been taken care of. So this is the answer to your question.
But sir, if you look the day-to-day cases in IBC, there is a huge haircuts, and that is the reason the bank is just going behind. Instead of filing it the IBC filing IBC case, they instead going for recovery tribunal, DRT tribunal, debt
Right.
recovery tribunal.
No, no,
So
I fully appreciate your point.
no, one point
May,
also,
maybe
one
maybe
point
we,
also.
maybe we will have to have a separate discussion on that aspect because the topic that we have for this session is completely different. तो वो जो आपकी बात है उसमें वो अलग से उसके ऊपर डिस्कशन करना
We are
पड़ेगा
talking about
because
BLRC and the government's move for this IBC provision, enactment of
right,
IBC code.
right, right.
That is why I want to put this point also, that
हाँ,
whether they are achieving some lack of some points to be included in IBC code amendment further,
yes,
so that
of
they can
course.
achieve all these their goals
Right,
which were targeted for, well, at the time of enactment of this IBC Act. My
right.
question is a simple one.
No, no, your point is well taken. Your point is well taken. Your point is well taken. Only thing is, our focus is on something else today, and
No,
maybe
it's
I'm
okay.
sure I'm sure the our IPA can organize a separate session, and I think there must be a separate session because that's a very important topic that you're raising, and it has to be discussed in total seriousness, in my view, also actually.
No, thanks. Please carry on. Carry on, sir.
Appreciate your point. Appreciate your point.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Functions versus role and responsibilities of insolvency professionals. As I said, that there's a difference between the functions that the insolvency professional has to discharge and the role and responsibility which the insolvency professionals have to deliver. To have this understanding, let us begin with the functions of the insolvency professionals. I'm just trying to put all of you on the same page. All of you are practicing insolvency professionals already, so there's nothing that new which I'm talking about as far as this particular aspect is concerned. But just to be on the same page and create a background so that we are able to absorb the technical skills and also the soft skills in the right context and in the right perspective and the right background. So the functions of insolvency professional begins with acting as a resolution professional, and that is where he has to manage the affairs of the corporate debtor. He has to do the formation of COC, and he has to prepare the information memorandum and invite the resolution plan. And thereafter, he also has to conduct the CIRP of the corporate data. And in conducting the CIRP of the corporate data, he has to make the public announcement. He has to invite the claims and do the verification of claims. He has to comply with the timelines. Interestingly, in my knowledge and in my understanding, what I have seen, IBC I found was perhaps the one of the first laws which had definite timelines. Unfortunately, or incidentally, those timelines have undergone a change with the passage of time because of whatever experience that we have had in the reality. But those timelines are to be complied, and that is what insolvency professional has the function to perform. And avoidance transactions need to be taken care of. Then managing the resolution process, he has to do the facilitation of the COC meetings, adhere to the laws and code of conduct, and approval of the resolution plan, which is, of course, the critical function for any of the insolvency professionals. And finally, acting as a liquidator, assuming that the insolvency is not resolved and the corporate debtor has to compulsorily go for liquidation. And in that case, acting as a liquidator, he has to take custody of the assets, prepare asset memorandum, distribution of sale proceeds, and of course, complete the dissolution. So this, friends, is the functions of the insolvency professionals, and we all are very much aware of all these functions because we all have performed these functions whenever we have handled any of those insolvency resolution process assignment or the liquidation assignment. What we also need to be aware, which of course is not part of the IBC code, this is what it is not documented, it is not coded, but this is what is expected from an insolvency professional, and this I refer as role and responsibilities of the insolvency professional. So what these are: the insolvency professional has to act as a businessman, and he got to have a outlook of a CEO. This is a leadership role. So in as an insolvency professional, you of course are going to lead the entire insolvency process or the liquidation process, and that means you are into a leadership role. You got to run the business as a going concern, which is the stated objective. Resolve the insolvency when possible. So the stated objective or stated goal is that the insolvency resolution professional has to do everything under the sun, everything possible under the sun, to ensure that insolvency is resolved. In case if resolution of the insolvency is not possible, then of course compulsorily go for the liquidation. In the liquidation also, you have to achieve value maximization, which would mean that the assets that you have to dispose, you got to ensure that those assets are sold at the maximum price, and so that there is a contribution to the economy, business decision maker, and not merely an advisor. So this is what we professionals, we insolvency professionals need to always bear in mind. As an insolvency, as a chartered accountant, as a cost accountant, as a company secretary, as a lawyer, more often than not, we are into an advisory role. So we are only advising our clients to do this or not to do this, or to do that or not to do that. But as an insolvency professional, we are not in an advisory role. We are into a different role altogether, and that is we are in the role of a leader. And as a leader, we are in the role of business decision maker, and that is what is our role and responsibility. And in this respect, what we have to bear in mind that as an insolvency professional, we of course got to be the pursuer of the good corporate governance, and at the same time we also need to be a strategist. यानी कि as an insolvency professional, एक तरफ मुझे I have to act like a strategist, and on the other hand I also have to simultaneously work on the good corporate governance. Good corporate governance, friends, remember, is expected from all of us every moment. So that we have to do in any case, more so when you are in the shoes of an insolvency professional, that you have to ensure that you pursue the good corporate governance and also be the strategist. अगर मैं इसको simple words में कहूँ, तो मैं कहूँगा कि जो हमारा रोल है as an insolvency professional, our role combines the Lord Rama, our role also combines the role Lord Krishna. So we have to follow good corporate governance as Lord Ram did, and we also have to be a good strategist as Lord Krishna did. So remember, as an insolvency professional, and that is the biggest technical skill that we all need to bear in our mind. So as an insolvency professional, I cannot I cannot, try to be good with everyone and let things go the way they are going. Definitely not. As an insolvency professional, I have to act like Lord Krishna, a strategist. What all things need to be set right, what all can be done so that this insolvency is resolved, what strategy, what game plan, what plan of action need to be put in place, and that is what as an insolvency professional we need to do. But at the same time, we also need to follow the good corporate governance, and that means ensure that there is nothing which is done in the entire process of the insolvency resolution or in the entire process of the liquidation, which is fair to some and unfair to other. That is something we have a bounden duty, bounden obligation to ensure that anything and everything that we do is not unfair to someone unduly or fair to someone unduly. So this, friends, I thought to share with you as the functions of insolvency professionals and also as the prime role and responsibilities of the insolvency professionals. Again, I am throwing it open to every one of you. If you have any of the question with regard to what I have discussed, please feel free to unmute yourself and ask me the question. We will need to, I would love to answer all your questions, whatever they may be, or rather, I would try to answer all your questions, whatever that may be. But unfortunately, we have a topic given for this session and we have a limitation of time. And therefore, I will have to only be restrict myself to answering those questions which at this moment relate to the topic that we have on our hands. So over to every one of you. Please go ahead and ask me any question pertaining to what I have discussed with you so far. Right. So if there are no questions, then we can go to the next topic. Another difference between the functions and the role and responsibility, to put it in very simple words, effective delivery of functions requires technical skills. And that is why we are going to cover technical skills as part of this session. Whereas effective discharge of role and responsibilities requires good soft skills. तो जो functions हैं उनको deliver करने के लिए technical skills की जरूरत है, और जो role and responsibility है उसको effectively deliver करने के लिए soft skills की जरूरत है. And that is how we are going to cover both these aspects. Now, to be able to absorb what and connect and correlate the technical skills, the soft skills, it is also very important for all of us to be aware and in this moment when we are having this session as to what kind of situations, what kind of circumstances, what kind of problems, what kind of difficulties, what kind of challenges, what kind of roadblocks, what kind of barriers, what kind of obstacles the insolvency professionals face in their day-to-day functioning. So just to be on the same page, let me share with you as to what are these challenges and the hardships that we as the insolvency professionals face from time to time. Number one is we are, as insolvency professional, we are under pressure of we are under pressure of just give me a second. Right. Okay. So, as insolvency professional, there are many pressures that we have to work under. So, number one is the first is running the company as a going concern, then managing cash flow and arranging interim finance, meeting the timelines as per IBBI regulations, and also reporting to IPA and IBBI. And I'm sure all of us are aware as to what kind of reporting and the timelines that we have to face with regard to reporting regularly. Thereafter, another pressure that we face is ensuring compliance with long pending legal matters for which adequate information may not be available. So, number one, these legal matters pertaining to past so many years. And number two, since the company has gone for the insolvency resolution, and therefore not much information will be available because not many people also will be available. So, that is another pressure that we face. Number four, lack of cooperation from all stakeholders and sometimes including from COC. Unfortunately, or incidentally, friends, when the IBC was brought out, what was the general impression in the minds of everyone? That the insolvency professional is going to be the de facto chief executive officer, and he would be driving the operations of the corporate data. But unfortunately, in reality, what has turned out that he is de facto CEO only for namesake. Ultimately, the shots are being called more often than not by the COC. And therefore, the insolvency professional many times finds himself in a very difficult situation. So, lack of cooperation is another is a pressure which insolvency professional always have. Claims invitation and scrutiny. Claims already on record should be considered in any case. Now, this is my understanding, this is my view. Something which is already there on record, and that record is available with you. In my view, in my understanding, that claim should be taken in any case. Looking into pressure of looking into PUFE, uh, the pressure of different government departments for recovery of their dues, pressure of compilation of information memorandum and inviting resolution proposals, pressure of litigations initiated by other stakeholders. So we have seen as to what kind of litigations keep happening from all sides with regard to the corporate data, and where the insolvency professional is always in the heart of it. Facing judges in NCLT and NCLET, HC, or Supreme Court who are also human beings. So please remember, all these judges who are sitting in these courts are also human beings. So when I say they are human beings, meaning what? Meaning they are not sant, they are not sages. So it's not that you make a presentation before them, or you make an application for before them, or you make a petition before them. They would automatically gather the crux of it. Unfortunately or incidentally, it does not happen. It does not happen because they're also human beings. They are also bound to have biases and prejudices. And remember, those biases and those prejudices, which unfortunately, intentionally or unintentionally, if are happening, they also put a huge pressure on the insolvency resolution professionals. Likely machinations of suspended board owners and management may not receive the required cooperation from the CD and its executives. So may not, in I would say more often than not, you would not receive the requisite cooperation, at least in the beginning. After that, if you are able to build bridges with them, after initial period, if you are able to connect with them, if you are able to build confidence in them, then of course you start getting all the support and cooperation. But initially, there is always an inhibition or hesitation on the part of the corporate data and its employees. So you don't get that cooperation. IP, in my view, is CEO only for namesake, with not much authority but unlimited obligations and the responsibilities, and that is another area of pressure that the IPs face. All the above combined together with the IPs put IPs under tremendous pressure. तो ये जो सारा है, ये सब की वजह से क्या होता है, ये सब की वजह से इंसॉल्वेंसी प्रोफेशनल्स के ऊपर बहुत प्रेशर आता है. And remember, unfortunately or incidentally, and I'm sure all of you would aware that as a result of all these challenges that I have discussed with you, many of the IPs who entered the profession have gone back. have gone back. And remember, they definitely would have been able to add tremendous value, but because of the circumstances that we are in, ultimately the motivation goes down and people tend to withdraw themselves. But what we need to do, instead of withdrawing, we need to find a solution as to what can be done, and that is what we are now focusing on. All this gets multiplied इन केस हैविंग मल्टीपल असाइनमेंट. सो अगर कोई इंसॉल्वेंसी प्रोफेशनल के पास में एक से ज़्यादा असाइनमेंट हैं और ये सारे चैलेंजेस हैं, तो आप समझ सकते हैं कि उसकी जो पोजीशन है वो और भी ज़्यादा कॉम्प्लिकेटेड हो जाती है. So finally, friends, to manage the above, what we do, we require sound technical skills and sound soft skills. Now, before we go to the next topic of discussing the sound technical skills required for the job of an IP, again, I'm keeping it open for all of you for next 30 seconds. In case if you have any question or if you have any doubt, you can please, or you want to add something, please go ahead and unmute yourself and you can speak up. All right. So if there are nothing, no questions or no point to add or anything, I think we can go and continue our discussion. Technical skills required for the job of an IP. So what I have done so far, I have created the background in the minds of every one of you, a background with regard to number one, as to why the insolvency and bankruptcy code was brought in. And number two, what is the role, background with regard to what is the role that we insolvency professional have to play uh, in this ecosystem of the insolvency and bankruptcy code. And number three, I have also given you the background as to what kind of challenges, difficulties, hardships, problems, roadblocks, barriers, hesitations, inhibitions we face in the process of working on insolvency resolution processes or on the liquidation processes. So with these three background, uh, what do we need? We need some technical skills and we need some soft skills. So now let us focus on some first technical skills. Then of course we come to the soft skills. So first and foremost, remember what is the role that the insolvency professional has to play. The first role that the insolvency professional has to play is to turn the business around, is to turn the business around, to run the business on a going concern basis. That is the prime responsibility. That is the prime responsibility of an insolvency professional whenever an assignment is given to him. Now, in my understanding and in my view, this is the biggest challenge and biggest task, that is to run the business successfully as a going concern. Now, what are the technical skills that we need for this purpose? Now, let me tell you, friends, at this point in time, ultimately, what is going to work for us? It is less of knowledge and more of attitude. So, as an insolvency professional, what do we know? What do we need? We need to have the right kind of thought process, right kind of attitude, right kind of approach. Knowledge of course is there, knowledge of course is available. So अगर मुझे कोई बिजनेस को टर्न अराउंड करना है, अगर मुझे किसी बिजनेस की इंसॉल्वेंसी को रिजॉल्व करना है, तो what do I need? In my understanding, the two technical skills or two understanding that we need is ability to take decisions. Ability to take decision. And now the question is, uh, how to take decisions? How to take decisions? What is the guidepost? What is the lighthouse that you can use as the reference for the purpose of taking decision? And as insolvency professional, we all know as to all kinds of decisions that we need to take under different situation. It may be dealing with the banks, it may be dealing with the lenders, it may be dealing with the suppliers, it may be dealing with the customer, it may be dealing with the employees, it may be dealing with the COC, it may be dealing with the government offices, it may be dealing with so many other stakeholders. Every time you have to take a decision. And what should be your driver for taking that decision? What is the guidepost? What is the lighthouse? Let me tell you, friends, I had the good fortune of working with the group called ArcelorMittal. And I'm sure all of you would be aware, ArcelorMittal is world's largest steel and mining company. They produce almost 10% steel of the entire globe. And incidentally, ArcelorMittal is one group headed by Mr. Lakshmi Nivas Mittal, which has become so big merely by virtue of acquisitions of the company world over. Acquisition of Sikh steel plants world over. So Mr. Mittal acquired these plants from the government of different countries all over the globe. All these plants, when Mr. Mittal acquired, whether in Russia or in America or in Brazil or in Mexico or in Canada or in South Africa or in Poland or anywhere in Europe. So when Mr. Mittal acquired these plants or these companies, these steel companies from the governments of the respective countries, all these plants were making losses. And Mr. Mittal used his neck, his ability, his competence, his expertise in turning these companies around. So when I was working with ArcelorMittal, one day a question crossed my mind as to how Mr. Mittal would take a decision. बिकॉज जो उन्होंने प्लांट परचेज किए पूरी दुनिया में, वो कोई प्लांट स्टैंडर्ड प्रोडक्ट तो नहीं है, वो कोई फ्रिज तो नहीं है, वो कोई रेफ्रिजरेटर तो नहीं है, टीवी तो नहीं है, वो मोटरसाइकिल तो नहीं है, कार तो नहीं है. इट इज अ प्लांट, स्टील प्लांट. एंड ऑल द प्लांट्स दैट मिस्टर मित्तल एक्वायर्ड ऑल ओवर द ग्लोब आर डिफरेंट इन ऑल रिस्पेक्ट्स. तो कोई स्टील बना, कोई अलग तरह की स्टील बना, कोई एक तरह की स्टील बनाता है, कोई दूसरी तरह की स्टील बनाता है. कहीं पर कैपेसिटी 1 मिलियन टन है, कहीं पर 10 मिलियन टन है, कहीं पर माइनिंग भी साथ में है, कहीं पर रॉ मटेरियल इंपोर्ट करना पड़ता है. सो आई वुड वंडर एज टू हाउ मिस्टर मित्तल वुड टेक अ डिसीजन when he has to deal with all these companies. And I realized that answer to this question lies in knowing as to what is purpose of every business. What is purpose of every business? Now, if we were to be in an offline session, I would have loved to ask you this question as to what is the purpose of a business, and then we would have interacted on this. But since we are in a virtual mode, let me tell you, most people think that the purpose of a business is to make profit, and which is completely wrong. Which is completely wrong. And why it is completely wrong? It is completely wrong because profit is something in business that you have to earn. Profit is non negotiable. Profit is not a matter of choice. Profit is not a matter of an option. Profit is non negotiable. Meaning what? Meaning if you are in business, then you have to make profit. You are in business and you are not making profit, then least that you can do is to give that business to somebody else who can run it and make profit out of it. And as a result of that, friends, all of us know in front of us, why is IBC? IBC is primarily for that reason. If someone is owning business and not making profit, the only option that he has is to hand over that business to somebody else. And that's how companies have changed hands, as we all know. SR Steel is now known as ArcelorMittal Nippon Steel. Ruchi Soya is now known as Patanjali. And so many companies. Bhushan Steel is now part of Tata Steel. And I'm sure hundreds of names will come to your mind when I'm discussing with you. So then the question is, if profit is not the purpose of a business, then what is the purpose of a business? And let me tell you, friends, the purpose of a business is to create value. And as insolvency professional, the technical skill that we need to have, the thought process that we need to have is to become aware that the purpose of any business, every business, anywhere in the world is to create value. And how do you create value? You create value by converting resources into result and result into resources. I'm sure all of you would know this gentleman. He is Jamshedji Tata, the founder of Tata Group. उन्होंने क्या किया? मैं आपको बताऊं कि Jamshedji Tata had earned enough wealth from his textile business and the exports business in the second half of the 1800. In 1902, Jamshedji Tata thought of three projects. And what those three projects were? Those three projects were: number one, steel plant that we know today as Tata Steel in Jamshedpur. The second project was the power plant, which we know as Tata Power. And the third project that he thought and he conceived, and that was the Institute of Sciences that we see today in Bangalore. And please remember, Jamshedji Tata did not think of these three projects because he wanted to earn more money for himself. Jamshedji Tata thought of these three projects in 1902 because he realized that with the advent of power, with the advent of steam, the way America and Europe were growing, were developing, he realized that if something was not done on power and the steam, then India will remain so behind economically that it would take India 500 years to come back to the same position. And that is why, friends, Jamshedji Tata thought of these three projects. And incidentally, friends, 1902 he thought of these three projects. 1904 he passed away. Yet, yet in 1906, the team that he created, the organization that he created, the people that he nurtured, in 1906 they acquired the site in Jamshedpur for building this steel plant. And in July 1912, Tata Steel produced steel first time in this country. And remember, why Jamshedji Tata did all this? Was he interested in profit? No, he was not interested in profit. What was he interested in? He was interested in value creation. And, and so the purpose of any business and every business is to create value. Now, the question that may come to your mind, and that is what, as an insolvency professional, all of us need to keep in our mind, कि जो असाइनमेंट मेरे पास में है, जो कंपनी मेरे पास में, जो सीडी मेरे पास में है, मेरा मिशन क्या है, मेरा गोल क्या है, मेरा ऑब्जेक्टिव क्या है, मुझे क्या करना है, मुझे इस कंपनी को टर्न अराउंड करके वैल्यू क्रिएट करना है. सो क्रिएट वैल्यू फॉर व्हाट? Create value to strengthen economy of the nation so as to make a positive difference in everyone's life without causing irreparable damage to the planet. And this is what all of us, whether as insolvency professional or as chartered accountant or as cost accountant or as company secretary or as a lawyer or as any other professional, this is what we constantly need to keep in our mind so as to ensure that our thought process, our attitude is in the right direction. So that is the first thing that we need to understand. And let me also tell you, friends, at this juncture, there is a direct relationship. Okay, I'm sure some of you must be wondering as to what do I mean when I say value creation. So how do I define value creation? The simplest definition that I can give you of value creation, which I am sure you would be able to understand without any difficulty. What is value creation? Value creation is to do the things to make this world a better place to live today than what it was yesterday. And that is what is value creation. That is what is value creation. And remember, that is how the whole world is talking about the good corporate governance. That is how the whole world is talking about the ESG. That is how the whole world is talking about the 17 sustainable development goals. And that is how everybody is talking about the circular economy. That is why everybody is talking about in terms of 3P bottom line. And why is that so? And that is because you want to create value so as to make a positive impact on the economy of the country and so also make difference in the life of people. And also remember, there is a direct connection between the purpose of a business and the profit and the growth and the corporate governance and the sustainability and also in the leadership. So all these things are very closely connected. Let us understand how. So I'm sure when you are converting resources into result, that is growth, when you are converting a result into resources, that is profit. And when you are creating value and making impact on the economy of the country, that is what is good corporate governance. And when you are working in a manner so as not to cause irreparable damage to the planet, that is what is sustainability. And when you all whoever does it, and that is what is called leadership. So that is the number one thing, friends, that we need to remember in our mind, that the purpose of a business is to create value. I am there as an insolvency professional so as to ensure that the organization that I am handling creates value in one way or the other. So in case if someone has to say something on this, please go ahead. Anyone would like to say something, add something, please go ahead. Okay, so if there's nothing, we can move forward. To be able to run the business profitably as a going concern, to be able to turn the business around, to be able to create value from the business, one more second thing that we need to be aware of and possess that ability, and that is ability to control the business operations. Ability to control the business operations. And you can imagine, suddenly assignment comes in your fold, and now you have to start working on this company. Up to that date, you may not have any idea what that company is. You may not have any idea what that company's products are, markets are, suppliers are, plants कितने हैं, क्या कैपेसिटी है, कुछ मालूम नहीं है आपको. Up to that date, you have no idea as to how the global market is for that company. And suddenly, when it comes to you, you have to control that operations, control that business. Now, how do you do the control of that? Control the how to control the operations of a business. And again, friends, this is what I learned during my stint with ArcelorMittal. So one day this question crossed my mind, that ArcelorMittal is such a huge group spread all over the world. In more than 60 countries, they have operations. They have manufacturing, they are manufacturing steel all over the globe across 5 continents. They have mining, they have steel making. 50-60 उनके plants हैं सब जगह पे. So one day a question crossed my mind as to how Mr. Mittal will control the operations all over the globe. Whether the plant in Poland is working fine or not, whether the plant in Russia is working fine or not, whether the plant in South Africa is working fine or not, whether the plant in Costa Rica is working fine or not, whether the plant in Mexico is working fine or not. How would he control? And again, with my interaction and observation, I realize that the operations of all the businesses, not only in ArcelorMittal, but world over, are controlled by answering one question. And that one question is, what is lifeline of a business? What is oxygen of a business? Meaning what? Meaning ऐसी कौन सी चीज है जो अगर बिजनेस में नहीं है तो वो बिजनेस विल कम टू ए ग्राइंडिंग हॉल्ट. यानी कि अगर ये चीज बिजनेस में नहीं है तो ये बिजनेस बंद हो जाएगा. Again, friends, if we were to be in a live session, I would have asked this question to every one of you. And I'm sure all of you would have given some answer or the other. And all your answers would have centered around money, centered around money. And when you say money, now money can be, for a business, money can be looked at from two perspectives. So the lifeline of a business, of any business anywhere in the world, will comprise of many things. That is how the responses would come. But ultimately, it is one lifeline. One oxygen is one. So what is one thing that any business and every business ought to have? Otherwise, that business will close down. In my experience of delivering these programs world over, most people would say money. And when they would say money, I would ask them, as to when you say money, what do you mean? Do you mean to say profit or do you mean to say cash? यानी कि क्या मतलब है आपका? आपके हिसाब से क्या प्रॉफिट लाइफलाइन है या फिर कैश लाइफलाइन है? एंड लेट मी टेल यू फ्रेंड्स, neither profit is lifeline of a business nor cash is lifeline of a business. Now, why do I say this? I say this because, let's say, for example, in my business, I have earned a profit of 100 crore. I have earned a profit of 100 crore. Is this profit of 100 crore that I have earned in my business, is it my lifeline? I need to find out. So when I find out, what do I come to know? I come to know that I have earned a profit of 100 crores for sure, but my inventory has gone up by 50 crores. My receivables have gone up by 70 crores. Now tell me, when my inventory has gone up by 50 crores, my receivables have gone up by 70 crores, and I have earned a profit of 100 crore, is this profit lifeline of my business? Will this profit give me long life? Will this profit will give me a long life? And the answer is no. And why the answer is no? Answer is no because I have earned a profit of 100 crore for sure. पर मेरी इन्वेंट्री 50 करोड़ से बढ़ गई, रिसीवेबल 70 करोड़ से बढ़ गए. इसका मतलब as far as cash is concerned, I'm not in plus, I'm in minus. I'm in minus by 20 crore. And therefore, this profit is not my lifeline. Then what is my lifeline? Is cash my lifeline? Again, need to find out. So when I find out, what do I come to know? I come to know कि मेरी कंपनी के अकाउंट बैंक अकाउंट में 200 करोड़ रुपए पड़े हैं. 200 crores lying in my bank account. Is it my lifeline? Again, need to find out. So when I find out, what do I come to know? When I find out, I come to know that this 200 crore which is lying in my bank account has come from where? It has come from a loan that I have taken from a bank. Now, please tell me, is this is this 200 crore of cash lying in your bank account? Is it the lifeline of your business? And the answer, of course, is no. And why the answer is no? Because not only we have to give this money back to the bank one day, but we also have to pay interest on it. And therefore, as insolvency professional, when we are working on resolution of a company, we need to put ourselves into the shoes of a businessman. And when we put ourselves into the shoes of a businessman, we realize that profit is not my lifeline because it is only on paper. And cash is also not my lifeline because ultimately it will depend as to where that cash is coming from. And therefore, what is the lifeline? And the answer, friends, of course, is very simple. It is the cash profit. It is the cash profit. So, as an insolvency professional, the moment I am working on an assignment, what do I need to do? I need to stop looking at myself as a chartered accountant, as a company secretary, or as a cost accountant, or as a lawyer. What I need to start looking at myself that I'm here to run this business. I'm a businessman. I'm a CEO. So I need to look at from that perspective. So if I have to look at from that perspective, then what I need to ensure? I need to ensure कि मेरी कंपनी में प्रॉफिट हो और प्रॉफिट से ज्यादा इंपॉर्टेंट हो कैश प्रॉफिट हो. और कैश प्रॉफिट का क्या मतलब है? कैश प्रॉफिट का मतलब है प्रॉफिट जो आपने कमाया, जो आपके हाथ में है. एंड दैट इज द कैश प्रॉफिट. सो दैट इज द सेकंड थिंग that we need to possess for being able to run the business profitably, so as to be able to turn that business around, so as to be able to run that business as a going concern. So this is the second thing, friends, that we need as insolvency professional for being able to discharge our role and responsibilities. And I'm sure, remember, you can recollect, you can understand that here what is more important is not the technical knowledge. Here what is more important is not the here what is more important is not the technical understanding. Here what is more important is the attitude, the approach to run the business. Again, let me throw it open to every one of you in case if you have any question or any doubt or anything that you would like to add, because all of you are also insolvency professionals. So in case you would like to add something, which of course need to be concentrating only on the things that we are discussing, 30 seconds to all of you. You can unmute yourself and open up. Okay, so if there is uh, nothing from anyone, then we can of course go ahead. So remember, what is lifeline of a business? Cash is not lifeline of a business. Profit is also not lifeline of a business. What is lifeline of a business is the cash profit. And what is cash profit? Cash profit is something that I have earned and it is with me in my hand and not locked up in my inventory or in my receivables or in some other unproductive asset. So that is not what I'm interested in. I'm interested in is the profit that I have earned and which is in my hand and I can use it for anything that I want to use it for. So cash profit is lifeline of any business, and this is where as the IPs we have to always keep our focus on. We need to keep our focus on. Let's now focus on the other aspect. Okay. Now before I come to this next topic, let me ask all of you, and I would like some of you must respond. Uh, in your understanding, what can be done for the cash flow management of a corporate debtor? Or you can share your live experiences, what you did. But of course, you got to be brief as possible, and you can share for the benefit of everyone as to what did you do for the cash flow management of a CD. Okay, no worries. Close the third thing, that the third technical skill that we need for managing the operations of the CD is close management and monitoring of cash flow during the process of CIRP or during the process of liquidation. As we have discussed already, it is the cash flow which is the lifeline of a business. And remember, this is applicable to every business. Every business doesn't really matter as to what is the geography, doesn't really matter as to what is the industry, doesn't really matter as to what is the product, doesn't really matter whether it's manufacturing or service. It is every business, the focus or the lifeline is the cash profit. So what can be done as by an insolvency professional, or what technical skill is required by an insolvency professional for managing the cash flow? Now, in my experience and in my understanding, whenever you come across a new assignment of CIRP and you go to the company, you go to the plant, uh, you will come across three possible scenarios. And what those three possible scenarios are, those three possible scenarios as regards the cash flow can be: number one, it is negative. यानी कि सीडी के पास में जो कैश है ही नहीं, कैश नहीं है और नेगेटिव है. सो व्हेन आई से नेगेटिव, दैट मींस सीडी इज ऑलरेडी इनकरिंग लॉसेस. सो एवरी मंथ सीडी इज ब्लीडिंग, and when I say bleeding, that means it does not have cash, rather it is consuming cash. The second situation, which is better, and that is neutral, that means this CD is at a break-even point, so it's not making losses, not making profit, but there's a bad working capital management, there's a bad fund deployment. As a result of that, the CD is not able to pay to his lenders or to his suppliers, and that is why the CD has landed in the NCLT. So that is the second scenario, and that is neutral. And the third is positive. So which means the CD is having a positive cash flow. Again, for whatever reason, the company has gone to NCLT, but the cash flow is still positive. So if these three are the possible scenarios that we are likely to lend. Doesn't really matter as to whether the cash flow is negative or neutral or positive. Our approach and our strategy, our game plan still got to be same in all the three scenarios. So what would need to be done? So the tools for the cash flow management of the cash flow uh, are known to every one of us. And what these tools are: number one is strict daily cash flow management. Strict meaning absolutely strict cash flow management. Incidentally, friends, you realize more often than not, in most of the cases, of course, there are reasons for these CDs to face trouble because of bad financial management, or maybe fraud also. But in many of the cases, the reason for a company to become to be on the path of the insolvency is because of the bad working capital management or bad fund flow management. तो पहले क्या करिए, डेली कैश फ्लो मैनेजमेंट का डेली कैश फ्लो मैनेजमेंट, पुट दैट इन प्रैक्टिस. 3 years 3 months rolling cash flow, and then of course annual budget. Of course we apparently when we get the assignment of insolvency resolution, uh, we are not going to be there for infinity or for a long time. Yet it is a good practice to start the annual budget. And that means what? That means assuming that this situation may run for a year or two, how the cash flow for the year one or two would look like. That is what is the first thing that should be done. Now, what are the principles of efficient cash flow management? So let me throw it open again to every one of you in case you would like to add something to whatever that I have said. Uh, you can unmute yourself, add your point, and then we can move forward. Principles of efficient cash flow management in case of CIRP or in case of liquidation also. But our prime focus is on CIRP. So number one, involve the entire top operational team. You and I, as an insolvency professional, have the background of chartered accountancy or the company secretary or the cost accountancy or the lawyer. We do not have the background of running the operations of the companies. And it is not expected also that insolvency professionals should run every department of the company. Definitely not. Definitely not. The role of insolvency professional is that of only a facilitator, a coordinator. And therefore, as an insolvency professional, for managing the cash flow efficiently and effectively, involve the entire top operational team, because those are the people who would run the plant. Those are the people who will bring the orders. Those are the people who will procure the material. Those are the people who will do the human resource management. And therefore, the first principle is involve the entire top operational team in the plan that you have. Prepare a survival and revival plan. Again, in this plan also involve all the senior people of that CD, because the maximum input for making a revival plan or survival plan will come from the people who have been working in that organization. Number three, assign specific tasks to every member. So, as an insolvency professional, it is not my job to do everything. My job is to ensure that the job is divided among all the responsible people and they do that job. That is what my job is. So, assign specific, absolutely specific tasks to each and every member. And then, of course, you have to also put in place the monitoring system. Focus on generation of cash from the operations. As we said earlier, लाइफलाइन किसी भी बिजनेस की कोई लंबी जिंदगी कहाँ से मिलती है, किसी भी बिजनेस की लाइफ कहाँ से बनती है, किसी भी बिजनेस की लाइफ बनती है नॉट फ्रॉम द कैश दैट कम्स फ्रॉम द लोन, नॉट फ्रॉम द कैश दैट कम्स बाय वे ऑफ इक्विटी. प्लीज रिमेंबर, लोन से जो पैसा आएगा, इक्विटी से जो पैसा आएगा, उससे बिजनेस की ग्रोथ तो हो सकती है, उससे बिजनेस की लाइफ नहीं बन सकती, उससे बिजनेस की लाइफ नहीं चल सकती. लाइफ बिजनेस की चलेगी from the cash that is coming from the operations of that business. So the cash can be of three types: by way of debt, by way of equity, and by way of the operations. So the best cash that is useful for any business is the cash which is coming from the operations of the company. So the EBITDA got to be the focal point as far as you as the insolvency professional is concerned. So focus on generation of cash from the operations, minimize or eliminate non-value adding cash outflows. And this is what again you need to do in consultation with your accounts team, finance team, and things like that. Number six, unlock balance sheet items for release of cash. Interestingly, it is always possible, and it is always the case that all such companies who have gone to the NCLT, as I said, suffer from two bad diseases. One bad disease is the bad working capital management, and second bad disease is the bad fund management, fund flow management. So you would see that these companies are having receivables overdue from so many customers, not realized. They may be having bank deposits for some guarantee that the company may have given sometime back in the past. So they may be having some loans and advances given to someone, uh, and that someone is sitting on those cash comfortably. So check and find out as to what are these items which are there on the balance sheet. Unlock them to free cash from them. Sell idle assets to improve liquidity. Of course, this you will need to do in consultation with the COC, because all said and done, unfortunately or incidentally, you do not have unfettered power as an insolvency professional. So all your powers are controlled and checked by the COC. So, but if you realize that the company that you're working on is having some idle assets, uh, which assets are not going to be used in future as well, so why keep those idle assets? Let those be disposed of. Let money come in and improve liquidity of a business, which can then be used for improving operations of the company or the working capital of the company. Thereafter, number eight is COC to provide the interim finance. Uh, Remember, as an insolvency professional, that is what we must always do. We should never take every responsibility on our shoulder. We always need to remember we are only the facilitator. So there has to be full support from the COC, and that support we need to demand from the COC. That support we need to demand from the COC. So it's not it's not my job to bring the interim finance. My job is to facilitate the interim finance coming into the business. And for that, what I need to do, all the resources which are available at my disposal, I need to tap them. And one of the resource which is available to me at my disposal is the COC. So I also need to involve them in generation of the interim finance, arrangement of interim finance from other sources. And finally, remember friends, very, very important, strict centralized controlled on cash outflow. A strict centralized control on all cash outflows, definitely until the time when the company is turning around and be is able to generate positive cash. Until then, the control of the outflow need to be completely centralized with the insolvency resolution professional only. It is not only important for ensuring that the cash is not wasted, it is also important for ensuring that the culture is created in the organization of control. People should become aware कि अब इस कंपनी में हर एक पैसे को काउंट किया जाता है, और जब ये कल्चर बनेगी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में तो उस ऑर्गेनाइजेशन की ऑपरेशनल एफिशिएंसी भी इंप्रूव होती है. So these friends are the principles of the efficient cash flow management that we need to follow as insolvency resolution professional. Once again, leaving it open to every one of you. Any question, any point that you want to add or you want to say, please go ahead and I would be happy to take your points. All right, I suppose we need to take a break. Uh, yeah, so we take a break of how much time you think we should take a break for?
10-15 minutes, sir.
15 minutes? Okay. तो अभी देखो, what's your good name is, by the way?
Advocate Prabhu Dayal.
ओके, तो प्रभु दयाल जी, थैंक यू सो मच. हम अभी देखो मेरी घड़ी में बज रहे हैं अभी 4:33. तो
हाँ, 33.
हम है ना 12 मिनट का ब्रेक ले लेते हैं.
यस सर,
तो
यस सर.
है ना, तो हम 4:45 पे कनेक्ट
यस
करते
सर,
हैं वापस से, है
यस
ना.
सर, यस सर, यस.
So let us do it that way. And so we meet again
यस
at
सर,
4:45.
यस. Yeah.
Should we start?
Just a moment.
Should we start now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Everyone in? Okay, good,
Yes.
good. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes, sir. Principles of efficient cash flow management. G.
Perfect. Absolutely perfect. Okay. How to achieve efficient working capital management during CIRP? I'm sure all of you, in any case, would be aware whether it is a profit-making company or a company which has gone for NCLT. It doesn't really matter. Working capital management is extremely crucial for any company, more so for a company which has gone for the CIRP to NCLT. And the insolvency resolution professional in this case ought to have a good understanding of the basic principle of efficient working capital management. To have a good understanding of the working capital management, because it is his job to create a culture of efficient working capital management in the entire organization. People from the manufacturing, people from the procurement, people from the marketing, people from the other functions may not understand as to may or may not understand as to why it is crucial to keep low inventory, may or may not understand why it is crucial to keep loans and to keep the receivables as low as possible, may or may not be able to understand as to why it is necessary that the bank balance should be kept at bare minimum, only to ensure that the operation, day-to-day operations run smoothly. Insolvency professional, if he has this understanding, then he would be able to guide, educate everyone in the organization as to why working capital revival of the organization. Again, if I was to be in a live session with you, I would have discussed this case with every one of you, with your responses. But now that we are into virtual mode, we have to manage in any case. So I'm just going to show this case. I'm just going to discuss this case with you, case study with you, and I'm sure as we go, you will also be able to figure out as to why it is and why it is, what it is and why it is. So this is a case study on a well-managed company. How to evaluate efficiency in management of working capital of a well-managed company using the current ratio. Using the current ratio. और हम सबको मालूम है, we all know how to calculate the current ratio. Is not a rocket science. We calculate the current ratio by dividing the current assets by the current liabilities. So when we divide the current asset, the figure of current assets, let's say 200, and figure of current liabilities, let's say 100, and what do we get? We get a current ratio which is 2. So this is how we calculate the current ratio. Now, remember, this current ratio is a very good indicator as to how the company is managing its working capital. I am discussing this case in the context of a company which is profit-making company, well-managed company, a company which is paying everyone on time. The company pays employees on time, suppliers on time, government on time, all these stakeholders, a company pays on time. So this is how we calculate the current ratio. Now, what is the case? The case is this is a company called XIZ. Now, this company's current ratio was 1.85 on 31st March 22. है ना, ये कंपनी का जो करंट रेशियो है वो 31 मार्च 22 को 1.85 था, और ये करंट रेशियो 31 मार्च 23 को घट के 1.6 रह गया, एंड ऑन 31st मार्च 24 ये करंट रेशियो घट के 1.2 रह गया. So I want to ask this question to every one of you, and I would like all of you should unmute yourself to give the answer. तो ये जो कंपनी है जो आपके सामने है, इस कंपनी का करंट रेशियो 1.8 से घट के 1.2 पे रह गया है 2 सालों में. क्या लगता है आपको? इज इट अ गुड साइन और इज इट अ बैड साइन? How this company is doing, is it a good sign for the company or is it a bad sign of the company? Anyone can answer. Okay, so let me tell you, friend, this is a very good sign. Typically, when I discuss this case with in my live sessions, most people would react initially saying that this is a bad sign. But this is not a bad sign. This is a very good sign. Why this is a very good sign? Because and that is what we are supposed to be doing in business. तो वो प्रॉफिट मेकिंग बिजनेस हो या नॉन प्रॉफिट मेकिंग बिजनेस हो, एनसीएलटी में गई कंपनी का बिजनेस हो या एनसीएलटी के बाहर की कंपनी का बिजनेस हो, कुछ फर्क नहीं पड़ता है. वी हैव टू वर्क इन अ वे that our current ratio must be diminishing, decreasing, and it is a good sign. And why it is a good sign? It is a good sign. इसका मतलब क्या है कि कंपनी की इन्वेंट्री कम हो रही है. इसका मतलब क्या है? कंपनी के रिसीवेबल्स कम हो रहे हैं. इसका मतलब क्या है? कंपनी के लोन्स एंड एडवांसेस कम हो रहे हैं. इसका मतलब क्या है? कंपनी का बैंक बैलेंस कम हो रहा है. और अगर ये चारों चीजें कम हो रही हैं, इसका मतलब क्या है? इसका मतलब ये है कि कंपनी अपने पैसे को वर्किंग कैपिटल में फंसा के नहीं रख रही है. और अगर कंपनी अपने पैसे को वर्किंग कैपिटल में फंसा के नहीं रख रही है, गुड साइन और बैड साइन? ऑब्वियसली इट इज अ गुड साइन. So this is another thing that we as insolvency professional need to focus on the current ratio. कि भाई मेरी कंपनी का करंट रेशियो घटना चाहिए, बढ़ना नहीं चाहिए. अगर मेरी कंपनी का करंट रेशियो बढ़ रहा है और मैं मेरी कंपनी को प्रॉफिटेबली चला रहा हूं, इसका मतलब इट इज हैपनिंग बाय चॉइस बाय डिजाइन. So when the current ratio is diminishing by choice by design, it is a good sign. But when the current ratio is decreasing because of the bad management, company is making losses, company does not have money, Company does not have money to buy the material. That's why material is less. Company is not producing, not selling. That is why receivables are less. Company को sell नहीं करती है, पैसा नहीं आता है. That is why bank balance is less. So in that case, your current ratio is going to be low, but that is not a good sign. That is a bad sign. But a company which is making profit, or company which is managing its operations efficiently, keeping inventory low, keeping receivables low by design, keeping bank balance low by design, keeping the loans and advances low by design, that is a good sign. So that is what we need to remember as a principle, that my focus must be, as an insolvency professional, my focus must be to bring my current ratio down as much as I can. Right. Any question, any point from anyone?
नहीं, ठीक है सर.
Okay. आप सब लोग हो ना उधर, मतलब किसी की आवाज नहीं आ रही, तो मुझे लग रहा है
Sure, sir. Listening to you attentively. No doubt.
ऐसा 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 तो नहीं कि
ऐसा
मैं
नहीं है
बोले
सर,
जा रहा
हमें
हूँ और
बात
वहां
क्या
पे
है.
कोई है
Whatever
नहीं.
you're saying makes lot of sense. It's a refreshing course as such.
We are listening, sir. We are listening.
Absolutely,
good,
sir.
good.
Don't worry
No,
about
no, very good, very good,
But there,
very good.
how
No,
many
I'm glad.
participants?
I'm glad.
32. जी.
32, yes. Okay. Another tool which is available in the hands of insolvency professional is the use of financial analysis for effective and impactful decision making. Now we all understand and we all realize that as an insolvency professional, मुझे दुनिया भर के डिसीजन लेने पड़ते हैं, दुनिया भर के डिसीजन लेने पड़ते हैं to run the CD in a very effective, efficient, profitable manner. अब वो डिसीजन लेने के लिए मुझे इंफॉर्मेशन चाहिए कि मेरी कंपनी का लेवरेज कैसा है, कि मेरी कंपनी की लिक्विडिटी कैसी है, कि मेरी कंपनी की प्रॉफिटेबिलिटी कैसी है, कि मेरी कंपनी की एसेट्स की एफिशिएंसी कैसी है, कि मेरी कंपनी की वर्किंग कैपिटल की एफिशिएंसी कैसी है. सो दिस इज अगेन, you do not have to do it by yourself. As an insolvency professional, you and I only need to be aware as to these tools are available. And then what we need to do, we need to have the people who are working in the organization, we need to use them for giving us this information so that we are able to take those decisions. So what you have, there are 8 key aspects of financial analysis. And what those 8 key aspects are, the first one is profitability and performance. So calculate your gross profit ratio, calculate your net profit ratio, calculate your EBITDA margin ratio, calculate your return on equity, calculate your return on investment, calculate your return on capital employed, calculate your earning per share. So these ratios will give you an idea as to how is the profitability of the business improving and moving. Then you calculate the liquidity ratio. और जो हमने अभी देखा, current ratio is nothing but a ratio that gives idea about the liquidity of a business. तो आप उसकी liquidity calculate करो, how is the liquidity of the business. And remember, gone are the days it was good to have a high current ratio. The current discipline, financial discipline requires that the current ratio must be as less as possible. तो अपने क्यों इन्वेंट्री में पैसा फंसा के बैठूं, क्यों रिसीवेबल्स में पैसा फंसा के बैठूं, why should I do that, right? And why should I not ask my suppliers to give me longer credit period if I can, or material take on credit? Then why should I purchase the material by paying cash? Solvency ratio. Solvency का मतलब ये, of course, insolvency companies which have gone in for insolvency or which have gone for insolvency resolution process through the NCLT through IBC code, उनकी solvency तो बराबर नहीं है, इसलिए वो वहां पहुंचे हैं. पर keep calculating in solvency ratio because that will give you an idea as to what kind of improvement do you have. Number 4, efficiency in utilization of the fixed assets. So as a resolution professional, what should be my aim? my aim should be to use my fixed assets as many times as possible. So I should be able to generate as many times turnover as possible using my fixed assets. So that is your efficiency in utilization, the fixed asset ratio. Efficiency in and effectiveness in working capital management. तो ये कैसे मालूम पड़ेंगे? ये मालूम करेंगे how many days of inventory I am carrying. Is that number of days of inventory which I am carrying is coming down month after month. So if the number of days of inventory that I am carrying month after month is coming down, that's a good sign. That means I am able to manage my operations with lower inventory. Likewise, how many days of receivables do I carry currently? Are these number of days of receivables going down month after month? If that is what is happening, that's a good sign. That means I am getting my money faster from my customer. And please remember, ultimately, as an insolvency professional, I understand कि what is the lifeline of a business? It is the cash profit. तो जितना मेरे पास में cash लोगों से आएगा, उतना मेरी life easy होगी, बिकॉज उतना मैं ऑब्लिगेशंस को डिस्चार्ज कर सकूंगा, और जितना मैं लोगों के ऑब्लिगेशंस को डिस्चार्ज करूंगा उतना मुझे ज्यादा उनसे सपोर्ट मिलेगा, कोऑपरेशन मिलेगा, और जितना ज्यादा सपोर्ट और कोऑपरेशन मिलेगा उतना ज्यादा मैं ऑपरेशंस को ज्यादा एफिशिएंटली कंडक्ट कर पाऊंगा. देन ऑफ कोर्स यू गॉट अ फाइनेंशियल लेवरेज रेशियो. दैट मींस आपकी बोरोइंग, डेट में और इक्विटी में क्या रिलेशनशिप है, और ये फिर आपका वैल्यूएशन रेशियो. आई एम गोइंग टू डिस्कस दैट सेपरेटली एज वी मूव फॉरवर्ड. And then, of course, finally, the eighth one is the EVA, economic value added. And how do you calculate EVA? EVA is very simple. It is return on capital employed minus cost of capital employed. And that is what is EVA. इसका मतलब क्या है? इसका मतलब ये है कि अगर मेरी कॉस्ट ऑफ कैपिटल 10% है, तो मेरा ROC कम से कम 10% से ऊपर होना चाहिए, तो फिर मैं वैल्यू क्रिएट करूंगा. और अगर मेरी रिटर्न ऑन कैपिटल एम्प्लॉयड 10% है, और मेरी रिटर्न ऑन कैपिटल एम्प्लॉयड 10% है, कॉस्ट ऑफ कैपिटल अगर मेरी 12% है, इसका मतलब आई एम डिस्ट्रॉइंग वैल्यू बाय 2%. दैट मीन्स मेरा ये बिजनेस ज्यादा दिन टिकने वाला नहीं है. तो ये 8 की पैरामीटर्स हैं फॉर इवेल्युएटिंग द बैलेंस शीट एंड इवेल्युएटिंग द profit and loss statement, so as to come to conclusion about different aspects of the operations and take decisions pertaining to those aspects accordingly. So again, open to every one of you. You can ask me any question if you have any.
This all is very fine, but the issue is that, as you also rightly mentioned, solvency ratio will not be there. Something garbad, that's why the company is not solvent.
Correct.
All
Correct.
these ratios, they make a lot of sense, no doubt about it. But problem यहाँ पर company पर resources ही नहीं होते. There is no money which is there in the company. I am also handling a situation there is not even a single rupee available. So that's the
Right.
problem. There is no funds, there is no stock, there is nothing as such. So how do, what sense these ratios make?
Very good point. So your question is that you are handling a company, and that company is not having money, and that is why you are running into difficulty.
Absolutely.
Okay, see that remember is but natural to happen. That is but natural to happen, and that is why that company has come
Has
into
gone
your
into
fold.
insolvency. Hanji.
Yeah, that company has gone into insolvency. Now, please remember, it is not that as an insolvency professional, I have to 100% turn a company around and resolve the insolvency. No, that is not the obligation that you have. The obligation that you and I have as insolvency professional, कि wherever there is a possibility of a company's insolvency getting resolved, we have to ensure that we explore that possibility. तो ये कंपनी का जो प्रोडक्ट है, ये कंपनी का जो मार्केट है, ये कंपनी की जो प्राइसिंग है, ये कंपनी की जो फैसिलिटीज है, ये कंपनी की जो पोटेंशियल है, वो सबको को एक जगह लाके,
ठीक है,
और उसकी कॉस्ट क्या होगी, उसकी प्रॉफिटेबिलिटी कितनी होगी, उसका कितना कैश जनरेट होगा, वो दैट इज व्हाट इज अवर रोल. सो वी नीड टू ब्रिंग दैट कंपनी टू दैट पॉइंट. और हमें क्या, हम कहाँ फेल नहीं होने चाहिए, हम ये काम करने में फेल नहीं होने चाहिए. तो अगर सब कुछ करने के बाद अगर कंपनी की इंसॉल्वेंसी रिजॉल्व नहीं हो रही है, वी आर नॉट एट अ फॉल्ट। आई मीन वी डू नॉट हैव टू फील गिल्टी कि मेरे पास में कंपनी आई, मैं वो कंपनी को इंसॉल्व को रिजॉल्व नहीं कर सका। अगर वो कंपनी के फंडामेंटल ही रॉन्ग है, तो व्हाट कैन वी डू? So अगर the case that you have spoken about, look at from the same angle. आप देखिए कि वो प्रोडक्ट क्या है, डिमांड क्या है, मार्केट क्या है, कस्टमर क्या है, सप्लायर क्या है, कॉस्ट क्या है, प्रॉफिटेबिलिटी क्या है, कंपटीशन क्या है, वो सारे के सारे फैक्टर्स को इकट्ठा करके देखो और सब पूरी जी जान लगा के देखो बॉटम लाइन में कुछ आता है क्या। अगर बॉटम लाइन में कुछ नहीं आता है पूरी दम लगाने के बाद में, देन कम टू ए कंक्लूजन कि भाई ये कंपनी नहीं टर्न अराउंड हो सकती है, इसको तो लिक्विडेशन जाना ही पड़ेगा।
ठीक बात।
So that is how we have to look. I mean, I would say we should never ever become emotionally attached with any of the company that we work on. Because as a matter of fact, if we bring emotion, our decision making is going to be blurred. So we have to keep the emotions completely out and take a decision which is completely rational and based on the objective situation. तो ये मेरा आपका आपके सवाल का ये आंसर है कि अगर आपको लगता है कि सब कुछ करने के बाद, सी अल्टीमेटली वी आर ओनली अ फैसिलिटेटर, वी आर नॉट मैजिशियन। इंसॉल्वेंसी प्रोफेशनल इज नॉट अ मैजिशियन कि वो जादू का डंडा लेके आएगा, जिस कंपनी को हाथ लगाएगा वो कंपनी टर्न अराउंड हो जाएगी। ऐसा आई विश इट वाज द केस। इट इज नॉट द केस। बट ये है कि इंसॉल्वेंसी प्रोफेशनल प्रोफेशनल है, कमिटेड है, डेडिकेटेड है, उसके मन में देश के लिए कुछ करने की तमन्ना है, उसके मन में देश की जीडीपी को इम्प्रूव करने की तमन्ना है, और वो चाहता है कि वो इकोनॉमी को पॉजिटिव डिफरेंस पैदा करे। वो सब उसके पास में है, उसके लिए वो पूरी जी जान लगा के सब कुछ करेगा। और वो सब कुछ करने there has to be a buyer also. Somebody has to come and give you a proposal, and that what our job is to ensure कि वो बंदे के पास में जो इंफॉर्मेशन पहुंचे वो इतनी एक्यूरेट, प्रिसाइज और कंप्लीट होनी चाहिए कि उसको रेजोल्यूशन प्लान बनाने में कोई दिक्कत नहीं होनी चाहिए। So this is how you can look at it actually. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, yes. Thank you, sir.
Okay, good. Now I'm not able to interact with all of you, so I'm not really able to figure it out. But I'm sure some of you must be. I'm sure some of you must be valuation professional also. And in my understanding and in my experience, insolvency professional ही नहीं, every professional, whether he is a company secretary, cost accountant, chartered accountant, only in that case also, every one of us need to have a good understanding of valuation. And why do we need to have good understanding of valuation? Because decision making can happen only when we understand the valuation. If we do not understand the valuation, decision making cannot happen. And let me now focus on that aspect of it as to why valuation is required for IBC matters. Okay, very simple. Only two situations are there generally speaking. या तो कंपनी का टर्न अराउंड होगा या फिर कंपनी लिक्विडेशन में जाएगी। तो अगर कंपनी का टर्न अराउंड होगा तो उसके लिए वैल्यूएशन जरूरी है। क्यों वैल्यूएशन जरूरी है? कि जो भी प्रोस्पेक्टिव बायर है, अगर उसको वो कंपनी खरीदनी है तो ही वुड लाइक टू नो एज टू व्हाट इज द अपसाइड and what is the downside. Upside means what is the fair value, downside would mean, that is why the valuation becomes very, very critical. Unfortunately or incidentally, and I'm sure it must be in the knowledge of many of you, there have been umpteen number of cases where valuations were done by the valuation professional, but not in a professional manner. As a result of that, as a result of in erroneous valuation, the entire process of resolution got delayed. ArcelorMittal, the ArcelorMittal, SR Steel is a classic example. Binani Cement is a classic example. Because of improper valuation, the entire processes were delayed. As much as I'm sure all of you must be aware, in any case, there have been many cases of disciplinary actions by the regulators against the valuation professional. And why is that so? And that is because the valuation was not done following the valuation standards, following the norms of the IBBI regulations, and that is what has to be strictly avoided. And therefore, I'm just going to share with you in very simple words so that you have total clarity about what is valuation, and so that whenever you are demanding a valuation from registered valuers, you are able to tell them as to what is that exactly you want, and you also give them the impression कि भैया मुझे भी वैल्यूएशन समझता है, कुछ उल्टा फुल्टा करके मत लेके आओ, तरीके से वैल्यूएशन करके लेके आओ, और that is what is your responsibility. Okay. So how to ensure proper valuation, thereby expedite completion of the IBC process. Now, this is what we are going to discuss. So, firstly, अगर हमें proper valuation चाहिए, तो सबसे पहली बात ये है, understand what is value, understand what is valuation, understand why valuation, and understand how to do valuation. And let me tell you, friends, it's very simple. What is value? Value is nothing but utility of an asset. Value is nothing but utility of an asset. जिस एसेट की यूटिलिटी है, उस एसेट की वैल्यू है. जिस एसेट की यूटिलिटी नहीं है, उस एसेट की वैल्यू नहीं है. And that is what is simple value. What is value? Number two, what is valuation? Very simple again. Valuation is nothing but quantifying utility of an asset in terms of money. That is what is valuation. What is valuation? Quantifying utility of an asset in terms of money. That is what is valuation, right? Isn't it? That is what is valuation. So valuation का मतलब नहीं है कि आप एक्सेल शीट में जो कर रहे हो या कोई मॉडल्स वगैरह यूज करके कुछ नंबर निकाल रहे हो, वो वैल्यूएशन नहीं है. वैल्यूएशन का सिंपल सा मतलब ये है कि एक एसेट है, उसकी यूटिलिटी है, और वो यूटिलिटी को आप नंबर्स में कन्वर्ट करना चाहते हो, मनी में कन्वर्ट करना चाहते हो. दैट इज व्हाई इट इज नोन एज वैल्यूएशन. व्हाई वैल्यूएशन? अगेन वेरी सिंपल. Valuation because we have to take a decision. Valuation because we have to take a decision. Please remember, you will do the valuation only when you have to take a decision. If you do not have to take a decision, you will not do the valuation. As insolvency professional, we have to take a decision. What decision we have to take? Number of things are there that we have to decide. And the most important one is we have to find someone who is bringing a workable resolution plan. So if somebody has to give a workable resolution plan, he obviously needs some basic information. Unless and until that he has those information, he will not be able to give a resolution plan. सो हम वैल्यूएशन क्यों करते हैं? क्योंकि हमको डिसीजन लेना है. अब मैं छोटा सा एग्जांपल देता हूं कि आप एक घर में रहते हो, आप उस घर का वैल्यूएशन कर रहे हो क्या? आज नहीं कर रहे हो. क्यों नहीं कर रहे हो? क्योंकि आपको उस घर के बारे में कोई डिसीजन लेना नहीं है. लेकिन कल अगर आप सोचो कि ये घर अभी हमको शिफ्ट करके बड़े घर में जाना चाहिए, तो मुझे अभी ये घर सेल करना चाहिए. सो द मोमेंट यू थिंक दैट आई नीड टू सेल दिस हाउस, इमीडिएटली यू विल स्टार्ट वर्किंग ऑन द वैल्यूएशन. Why? Because now you have to take a decision. So as an insolvency professional, we have to take a decision, and that is why we have to do the valuation. Now, how to do the valuation and what is fair value measurement, that is what we will discuss. But before that, let me again throw it open to every one of you in case if you want to add something or ask something. Okay, so if there is nothing, then if there is nothing, just give me a second. Okay. Now, how to do valuation? let me give you the good news. And what is the good news? Good news is, पूरी दुनिया में there are only three approaches of doing valuation. Only three approaches. You go to America, you go to Russia, you go to Europe, you go to Australia, you go to New Zealand, you go to Japan, you go to China, you go to any part of the world. There are only three approaches for doing the valuation. And please remember, it doesn't really matter as to what class of asset that we are talking about. We are talking about the land and building, we are talking about the plant and machinery, we are talking about the financial assets, we are talking about the intangible assets, we are talking about the goodwill, we are talking about the derivatives. It doesn't really matter. There are only three approaches for the purpose of valuation. And that is the good news, because we do not have to struggle too much for coming to the valuation. Now, which are the three approaches that you have for the evaluation? The first approach is income approach. Second approach is the market approach. And the third approach is the asset approach. Now, let's understand that also. Why income approach is known as income approach? Why market approach is known as market approach? Why the cost approach or the asset approach is known as the cost or the asset approach? Very simple. When you are doing valuation of an asset using income as the base information, that is where you are using the income approach. When you are using for doing valuation of any asset, when you are using income as the base information for the purpose of finding out the value, that is your income approach. So likewise, when you are using market information as the basis for the purpose for arriving at the value, that is referred as market approach. And the asset or the cost approach, when you are using the cost of the asset as the basis for the purpose of valuation, that is known as asset approach or the cost approach. Under the income approach, there are three methods. One is income capitalization, and second is discounted cash flow method. Now, let me tell you, when it comes to the insolvency resolution process, income capitalization method is not used. What is used is the discounted cash flow method. And I can tell you, based on my experience of valuation of last so many years, in discounted cash flow method is the most efficient, effective, dependable, reliable method of cash flow, method of valuation. You only need to take two precautions. What are those two precautions? Precaution number one, make sure that the projected cash flows that you are making are as realistic as possible. As realistic as possible. Don't make too much optimism and don't bring too much of pessimism. In both the cases, you will be arriving at wrong values. So cash flow projections that you are making got to be absolutely realistic. Meaning what? Meaning when you as an insolvency professional are appointing someone as registered valuer, that valuer with input from you in coordination with you got to ensure that the cash flow projections that he takes into account for the purpose of discounted cash flow method are as realistic as possible. So that's number one. Second precaution that needs to be taken is about the cost of capital. Cost of capital that you would use for the purpose of discounting the cash flows. So that cost of capital again has to incorporate the risk and return into it. So अगर risk बहुत ज़्यादा है तो आपकी cost of capital ज़्यादा होगी. अगर risk कम है तो फिर आपकी cost of capital भी कम होगी, because there is a direct relationship between the risk and the cost of capital. So these two things need to be taken care of, and when you do that, I think everything should be fine. Market approach. Now, in my view, for the insolvency resolution purposes, market approach is not of much relevance. And why it is not of much relevance? Because market approach का मतलब है comparable company method और comparable transaction method. अब आप मुझे बताइए कि जिस कंपनी का इंसॉल्वेंसी रेजोल्यूशन का काम आपको मिला है, वो उसके जैसी कंपनी कंपेरेबल आपको कहीं मिलेगी क्या? It is next to impossible that you will find a company which is similar to your company. So and same is the case with the comparable transactions also. And therefore, for the purpose of, in my understanding, for the purpose of insolvency resolution process, market approach may not be of much relevance. Not that I'm completely ruling it out. You can always, make some efforts in case something you are able to get, but invariably it will not happen. So आपका focus कहाँ होना चाहिए? Discounted cash flow पे. And then you have the uh, asset approach. Now here you have the liquidation value method. अब देखो, जब insolvency IBA के जो regulations हैं उसके हिसाब से we need to appoint two valuers to give two values, fair value and the liquidation value. So what is the liquidation value? Liquidation value is कि अगर ये कंपनी नहीं चलने वाली है, इस कंपनी को बंद करना पड़ेगा, बंद करके इस कंपनी की एसेट्स को सेल करना पड़ेगा, और सेल करके जो पैसा आएगा उसमें से जो सेल करने में खर्चा होगा वो माइनस करने के बाद जो आपके हाथ में आएगा, दैट इज योर लिक्विडेशन वैल्यू. दैट इज योर लिक्विडेशन वैल्यू. So under the insolvency resolution process, so these are the methods which are used for the purpose of finding value. Just to give you some more input about the, okay, in case if you have any question, you can please ask me. Please, any question? Otherwise, I'll can go to the next topic. Okay. So, Ind AS 113 is on fair value measurement. For the purpose of valuation, understanding of Ind AS 113 is absolutely must, absolutely essential. Okay. So, उसका मतलब ये है, Ind AS 113 will talk about three level input. So first is level input 1. That means अगर कोई कंपनी लिस्टेड है तो उस कंपनी की जो लिस्टेड कोटेड प्राइस है, that becomes the basis for the valuation. अगर कोटेड प्राइस अवेलेबल नहीं है, then you go to the second level 2 input. Level 2 input would mean find out a comparable company. और अगर वो भी अवेलेबल नहीं है, then you go to the level 3 input, and that is your discounted cash flow method. And discounted cash flow method का मतलब ये है कि कंपनी ना तो लिस्टेड है, ना उस कंपनी से कनेक्टेड कोई, उस कंपनी की जैसी कोई दूसरी कंपनी अवेलेबल है. कंपनी का वैल्यूएशन तो करना ही करना है, तो कैसे वैल्यूएशन करेंगे? क्रिएट योर ओन इंफॉर्मेशन. सो प्रोजेक्ट द फ्यूचर कैश फ्लोज, find out the cost of capital, find out the present value, and that is how you find out the value of the company. Just to sum it up, in my opinion and in my understanding and in my, ignore it at your own risk. In case of insolvency resolution process, you can't ignore it also, because discounted cash flow method only will give you the fair value, no other method. Quoted price is okay, but by experience we know कि कितनी सारी कंपनीज के शेयर्स हैं जो 2000 पर लिस्ट हो रहे थे, 5000 पर लिस्ट हो रहे थे, आज वो कंपनी बंद पड़ी हैं. तो कोटेड प्राइस कितना भरोसा कर सकते हैं पता नहीं, but that is what we must remember. And the cost approach is, of course, will give you an idea about the liquidation value. So the cost approach or the asset approach only gives you the downside, the downside value of an asset. So this is what this is how the valuations are done using three approaches: income approach, market approach, and the cost approach. And there are different methods as we have discussed. So again, in case if you have any question, please go ahead. Else we will move to the next slide. Okay. So time थोड़ा कम है, तो लगता है मुझे थोड़ा सा जल्दी भी करना पड़ेगा. Remember, keep in view the provisions under various IBBI regulations relating to valuation and comply with the same. So just to put all of us on the same page, as regards the value need to worry about. The first one is insolvency resolution process for corporate person, and that is where you will need to appoint two registered value. और अगर उन दोनों के valuation में बहुत ज़्यादा फर्क है, then you will have to appoint one more RV. Under the fast track IRP, regulation, remember, you do not have to appoint two registered valuer also. Third वाले का तो सवाल ही पैदा नहीं होता है. You only need to appoint one valuer, and that is because fast track IRP are for the startups or for the small companies, and therefore, but valuation has to be done. Only thing is one valuer is enough. In case of liquidation process, uh, in case of liquidation process, if you require, you will require the evaluation, no doubt about it. You must have a company which has is now going for liquidation, has already passed through the insolvency resolution process. At that stage, this company must have done the, I mean, you as the insolvency resolution professional would have done the evaluation, must have appointed two registered valuer at that time. So you can check whether those valuations still hold good, because those two valuers would have also given you the liquidation value. So you can just check those two valuation report. If you and the COC is of the view that those valuations still hold good, then you can use the same valuation report which you had got for the purpose of insolvency resolution process. In case if the views are different, which means the COC feels that those valuations do no longer good, then you will have to do the fresh appointment of the valuation professionals. In case if you're handling the voluntary liquidation process, here you do not have to worry about appointing of any valuation professional, and that is because voluntary liquidation है, कंपनी अपनी मर्जी से लिक्विडेशन में जा रही है, तो कॉरपोरेट जो डेटर है, जो कंपनी है, और उनकी जो अंडरस्टैंडिंग है और आपकी जो अंडरस्टैंडिंग है, आप मिलके डिसाइड कर सकते हैं कि क्या करना चाहिए. बट रिमेंबर, all said and done, you still have to follow the principle of value maximization. So these, friends, are the regulations with regard to the valuation that you as the insolvency professional need to take care of. Okay, thirdly, understand the valuation standards. Valuation standards are by ICAI and also IBC. ये उनके वैल्यूएशन स्टैंडर्ड्स हैं, और वो एज एन इंसॉल्वेंसी प्रोफेशनल आई वुड वेरी स्ट्रांगली रिकमेंड as regards the valuation standards. So RBBI regulations as well as all the other regulations do specifically mention that the valuation standards that must be used must be standard international standard. And from that perspective, you have valuation standards by the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India and the valuation standards by the International Valuation Standards Committee, तो काउंसिल, इंटरनेशनल वैल्यूएशन स्टैंडर्ड्स काउंसिल. तो इनके दोनों के वैल्यूएशन स्टैंडर्ड्स हैं. तो एज एन इंसॉल्वेंसी प्रोफेशनल, इन माय व्यू, इन माय अंडरस्टैंडिंग, you must have good understanding of both these standards. अब ये दोनों में फ़र्क क्या है? दोनों में फ़र्क ये है कि the valuation standards brought out by the Institute of Chartered Accountants are only for the purpose of financial assets and securities, whereas the valuation standards brought out by the International Valuation Standards Council or Committee also have three more standards. So the valuation standards brought out by the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India have got 8 valuation standards, and the internal IBSC has got 11, which means what? Which means जो ICAI के 8 वैल्यूएशन स्टैंडर्ड्स हैं, वो IBSC में भी हैं. IBSC में 3 एक्स्ट्रा वैल्यूएशन स्टैंडर्ड्स कौन से हैं? One is valuation on plant and machinery, second is valuation of real property interest, and third is development property. And I'm sure you can understand why these 3 standards are not there as part of the valuation standards by the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, because they are more concerned with the financial assets and the securities, and not with the plant and machinery or land and building or development property rights. So this is what as far as the valuation standards are concerned. Preparation of information memorandum. Now, this, in my view, is the mother document. This is the mother document because the future course of action of this corporate data is directly connected with what information is contained in the information memorandum. Because using the information memorandum, the prospective resolution applicants will prepare their plan, and therefore it doesn't have to be highlighted, it doesn't have to be emphasized that this document, this information memorandum IM, has to be as comprehensive as possible. So it should give all the information. The code has got has the regulations provide for structure, and as per that structure, part A will include statutory information, and as statutory information, what would need to come essentially in the information memorandum. One is the related sections and the regulations, contents as given in Regulation 36, description of assets and liabilities and financial statements, list of creditors, all the creditors, including the names of creditors, the amounts claimed by them, the amount of their claims admitted, and the security interest, if any, in respect of such claim, will have to be part of the information memorandum. Dues to from related parties, guarantor details in case if there is any, member or partners having 1% or more stake, unka details, details of all material litigation and ongoing investigations, a number of workers and employees and their dues. So this information will need to be incorporated. This is minimum information which needs to be incorporated in part A of the information memorandum. I'm highlighting it once again. This is the most crucial document in the life of insolvency resolution process of a corporate data. Because based on based on the information contained in this document, the future will be decided. This document also indicates the credibility and the reputation of the insolvency resolution professional. ये जितना document fool proof होगा, error proof होगा, उतना ज़्यादा ये समझ सकते हैं कि the insolvency resolution professional has used his professional skills and expertise. Table 2, part 2 will have executive summary, key investment highlights, एंड इंडिकेटिव प्रोजेक्ट टाइमलाइंस कि अगर आपके हिसाब से ये प्रोजेक्ट को सर्वाइव करना है, रिवाइव करना है, तो उसके की टाइमलाइंस आपके हिसाब से क्या होंगे. एंड अगेन इन माय व्यू, बी एज रियलिस्टिक एज पॉसिबल. नो नीड टू बी ओवर ऑप्टिमिस्टिक एंड नो नीड टू बी ओवर पेसिमिस्टिक. कंपनी ओवरव्यू, industry overview, projected business plan. So what is the projected business plan that you have? And then of course, process overview, a list of the annexure. So this is the information memorandum that will need to be prepared. And these are the minimum information that should be contained in that. In case if there is any question, please go ahead. Preparation of resolution plan. This, in my view, is source of Sanjeevani booty and evaluation of the same. तो ये जो resolution plan है, ये मेरे ख्याल से संजीवनी बूटी है, because ultimately the future of the entity or the corporate data will depend on what is contained in this document, that is resolution plan. Of course, resolution plan, as we all know, has to come from the resolution applicant. Our role as the insolvency professional is to evaluate. And remember, for evaluating the resolution plan, all the things that we have discussed, whether it is what is purpose of a business, whether it is what is lifeline of a business, whether it is what is principle of working capital management, whether it is how to do the cash flow management, or how to do the monitoring of the cash flow, or whether it is how to do the financial analysis of the entire business, and how to do the evaluation. So all that we have discussed, remember, is going to be in our armory in empowering us to do the evaluation of the resolution plan that come to us as insolvency professional. And remember, that is where our expertise would be required. And that is one of the prime roles that we have as an insolvency professional, because based on our evaluation, we will need to recommend to the COC, and the COC will finally take the decision and then move to the NCLT and decide the future course of action. So, what are the contents of a resolution plan? Number one, it will give the definitions, which is a standard, executive summary of the resolution plan, a profile of the resolution applicant, overview of the corporate data, key challenges and trends in the industry, summary proposal of the resolution applicant, details of the proposed resolution transaction structure. So, what is the haircut expected? How much is the promoter going to put in? How much he is going to put in by way of debt? How much he is going to put in by way of equity? How much he is going to put in by way of the preference shares? How much he is going to put by way of zero interest debt? And all that, and what kind of haircut is expected from the other creditors, whether the financial creditors or the operational creditors. Remember, ultimately, what is important is the resolution plan should be workable. Resolution plan should be workable, and the plan should be in such a way that everybody is contributing to it. Actually, it is everybody is contributing to it one way or the other. So the resolution plan should not be structured in a way that someone is getting favored and someone is not getting his dues also. If that in my view is not the right structuring of the resolution plan. It must be fair to all, and of course finally it has to be workable also. Business plan, then term implementation schedule and monitoring of the resolution plan, monitoring, treatment of various stakeholders, mandatory contents of the resolution plan, sources of funds, schedules. So friends, this is all will need to be incorporated in a resolution plan. So what we have discussed so far are the uh, part of the technical skills. Now we shift our gear to the soft skills. We will need to be little faster, but I will ensure at the same time that we do not miss crux of any of the things that we are discussing. Soft skills, I always refer them as life skills. And why do I refer them as life skills? Because these soft skills, these so-called soft skills, make our life easy. As valuation professional, as we discussed in the very beginning, insolvency professional has got all kinds of challenges, all kinds of difficulties, all kinds of responsibilities, all kinds of obligations. And he has to really do a very tight rope walking. And for being able to do that tight rope walking, the insolvency professional really needs to equip himself with a lot of tools on with regard to the life skill, so that he is able to deliver and discharge his duty. So what are the different life skill, soft skills or life skills? I will keep referring them as life skills. So whenever I'm saying them life skills, please read them as soft skills. So number one is leadership skill. Number one is leadership skills. Now, what is common in all of them? And I'm sure you all would say they are all successful, they are all leaders, they are all powerful, and they are all influencer. Undoubtedly, and they undoubtedly that of course is very true. They are also effective communicator and powerful presenter. Powerful presenter. Insolvency professional also has to be effective communicator and powerful presenter. And why does he have to be effective communicator? That means he has to communicate. He has to communicate, because unless and until he communicates, people will not understand. And if people don't understand, they will not respond. If they don't respond, the work will not be done. So the insolvency professional has to be very, very effective communicator and also very, very powerful presenter. 9 steps to leadership. So they all are insolvency professional is also a leader. So how do we understand by leader? Who you think is a leader? Now, in my view, a person, leader does not mean, in my view, leader does not mean someone who is occupying a board level position or a minister or a politician or having a high position in some social organization or in political organization. Now, those essentially are not leaders in my view. Who is a leader in real sense also? Who is a leader? Leader is one who is working to bring smiles and cheers in the life of others, and that person is a leader. सो लीडर का मतलब वो नहीं है कि जिसका फोटो में अखबार में फोटो छपे. लीडर का मतलब ये नहीं है कि जो टीवी पे बार बार आए. लीडर का मतलब ये है कि वो आदमी जो कि लोग औरों के जीवन में डिफरेंस, पॉजिटिव डिफरेंस लाने के लिए काम करता है. दैट इज अ लीडर. What do leaders do? Very simple. Leaders don't do different things, don't do differently. Leaders do right things and in right way. तो लीडर क्या करता है? लीडर वो करता है जो कि उसको करना चाहिए. As an insolvency professional, your job is to turn that company around and devote yourself to that job. If you are doing that job, you are a leader. But instead of that, if you are trying to find as to how can I make more money, by doing something here or something there, then you are not being a leader. And as a matter of fact, unfortunately or incidentally, we all know there are so many reported cases where insolvency resolution professional disciplinary actions have been taken by the regulators. So obviously the people against whom the disciplinary actions have been taken are not leaders. So leaders are the ones who are truly working for insolvency resolution. What is leadership? Leadership is very simple. Doing your job correctly is leadership. What are the two most important traits of a leader? Two most important trait of a leader. Number one is he is a giver. He is a giver. He is a giver. And number two, he is more concerned about others and not concerned about himself. So these, in my view, are the two traits of a leader. What is the purpose of leadership? The purpose of leadership is to make difference, make positive difference in the life of everyone. Purpose of leadership is to make this world a better place to live today than what it was yesterday. That is what is purpose of leadership. Are leaders ordinary or they are extraordinary people? Now, in my view, leaders are ordinary people. The only thing is, with the passage of time, the kind of work they do over the years, the work gets so much accumulated, their achievements become so much accumulated that people start finding them as extraordinary. So leaders are ordinary, but because of the work that they do, they are perceived to be extraordinary. Are leaders born or made? Now, in my view, leaders are born and leaders are also made. So it's not that leaders are only born. Leaders can also be made with the necessary training, education, attitude, approach. Uh, 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 with this, even the ordinary people can also become leader. Do leaders make mistakes? I'm sure leaders would definitely be making mistakes, because uh, if you don't make mistakes, then you become God. So leaders will definitely be making mistake. The only thing is, leaders don't make mistake deliberately. Leaders don't make mistake intentionally. Leaders don't make mistakes knowingly. Judgment can go wrong, and that's where a leader may go wrong. But leaders will not make a mistake knowingly, intentionally. And finally, should a leader have a personal ambition? Now, my understanding is If a leader has a personal ambition, then he is a leader. A leader has a personal ambition, then he is not a leader. A leader is one in giving and not interested in taking. Now, these are the leadership. Now, friends, all of you as the insolvency resolution professional need to ask yourself as to where do you fit on this test of 9 questions. And then, of course, you can work out your strategy and approach as to how to make sure that you tick all the 9 boxes in future. Planning and organizational skills. Anybody would like to add anything on this leadership part? Planning and organization skills is something which is an absolute must for insolvency professional, because now we know by experience that so much of organization has to be done by the insolvency professional. COC की मीटिंग ऑर्गेनाइज करनी है, लेंडर्स की मीटिंग ऑर्गेनाइज करनी है, बैंकर्स की मीटिंग ऑर्गेनाइज करनी है, एम्प्लॉयज की मीटिंग ऑर्गेनाइज करनी है, सारे स्टेक होल्डर्स की मीटिंग ऑर्गेनाइज करनी है, बाहर के लोगों से निगोशिएट करना है, अंदर के लोगों से निगोशिएट करना है, पूरे प्लांट का री फर्निशिंग करना है, कुछ टेक्नोलॉजी चाहिए तो बाहर से वो लेके आनी है. So much is required to be done, and therefore the insolvency resolution professional need to check and ask himself as to how good I am in the organization, how good I am in the planning, because without planning, without organizational skills, the job is going to be extremely difficult. So not only you got to be good in the organization, but you also need to build an organization. So you will need to build an organization out of the CD that you are working on, and plus you will also need to have your backup organization so as to support you in managing the affairs of the corporate data. Communication skills, it needs hardly any emphasis. When to communicate and when not to communicate. You must communicate in every situation, in every situation. But when you should not communicate, and that is what we need to understand. So as insolvency professional, and please remember, as I said in the beginning of this session, whatever I'm discussing with you is not only going to help us as insolvency professional, but everything of this is also going to help us as otherwise also, and in our real life also. So as an insolvency professional, situations would be there where you would need to keep quiet and not communicate. So when is that? When you are emotional, you are angry, in hurry, demotivated, demoralized, feverish, passionate, not prepared, under pressure, under stress, nervous, not comfortable, instigated, provoked, drunk, and चने की झाड़ पर. तो ये सारी सिचुएशंस हैं. अगर आप अगर आपकी मेंटल स्टेट कुछ इस तरह की है, in those situations it is better not to speak, because if we make any communication in this situation, then what is going to happen is, in all likelihood, our utterance is going to be negative, and that will not be in our favor. So this is where we must remember when to communicate and when not to communicate. Now the question is how to avoid such situation. So how do I respond to such situation? So I can respond to such situation by saying, can I come back to you on this? Need some time to think about it. Need to check with my COC. Need to confirm with my family. Need to rework my numbers. Need to consult COC. Need to discuss with the auditors or any other professional, legal, whatever. Need to check IBBI regulations about it. We'll need some more details on the same before deciding. So this is how you can avoid these situations where you do not want to take a decision or when you do not want to make a commitment. And remember, it's very, very important, because otherwise we tend to make wrong commitment in the wrong situation, and then it becomes very difficult to undo it or reverse it. The art of listening, it does not need any elaboration. It does not need any elaboration. And we all understand that listening is very important. Listening skills are very important. All of us need to be very good listener. Despite the fact that we know it very well, yet more often than not, we tend to be impulsive and we don't tend to uh, avoid being a good listener. As an insolvency professional, when you have so many stakeholders behind you, everybody expecting you to fulfill their demand, their expectations, listening becomes very important. And why listening becomes very important, the best thing about the listening is when you are listening, you are getting time to think. And that is why listening becomes very important. So, but I would say more than listening, what is important is non-listening. Non-listening. So when I said non-listening, now what does it mean? It means, remember, the root cause of Ramayana, what was it? The root cause of Mahabharat, what was it? The root cause of Ramayana was the harsh words that were uttered by सीता जी टू लक्ष्मण कि लक्ष्मण तुम्हारी नियत में खोट है. अगर लक्ष्मण ने उस समय उन शब्दों को सुनने के बजाय अनसुना किया होता और वो वहीं रहते, ना जाते, तो शायद पूरी रामायण नहीं होती. महाभारत, what is the root cause of Mahabharat? Draupadi's harsh words to Duryodhana. What did she say to Duryodhana? अंधे का बेटा अंधा. If Draupadi ने वो हार्श शब्द ना बोले होते एंड दुर्योधन ने उसको अनसुना किया होता, that means Duryodhan would have been good in non-listening, then perhaps Mahabharat bhi na hoti. So, as insolvency professional, remember, not only it is important for us to be good listener, but it is equally important for us to be good non-listener. क्या मतलब है? मतलब ये है कि वही सुनो जो कि सुनना चाहिए और जो नहीं सुनना चाहिए उसको इग्नोर करो. एंड दैट इज व्हाट इज नॉन लिसनिंग skills, which is very much essential. Now the people skills. इतने सारे लोगों से आपको डील करना है, लेंडर से डील करना है, शेयर होल्डर से डील करना है, क्रेडिटर से डील करना है, बाहर की पार्टियों से डील करना है, इंफॉर्मेशन बनाने के लिए लोगों को काम पे लगाना है, एम्प्लॉय से बात करना है, उनके साथ में उनसे काम कर निकलवा के लेना है, रेजोल्यूशन एप्लीकेंट से रेजोल्यूशन लेके आने हैं. So much of work is to be done, and that is where people skills are going to be very, very important. Now, some of the things that I would like to share with you with regard to the people skill. Number one, remember, as regards to the people skill, the 10 things that I would like to share with you is, number one, remember the root cause of Ramayana and Mahabharata. Number two, be a good listener. Number three, do not fall into the category of sharks. Sharks are the people who tend to make your life difficult. So do not become shark to someone. Use diplomacy. Argue only in court or parliament. Otherwise, don't argue. Don't because only when you argue in the court or in the parliament you get paid. For all other arguments, you don't get paid. Rather, you lose relationship. So that is very essential for people skill. बी लाइक अ नीलकंठ. हम सभी को नीलकंठ की कहानी मालूम है. भगवान शिव को नीलकंठ क्यों कहते हैं? क्योंकि उन्होंने जो हलाल विष था उन्होंने उसको मुंह में तो लिया लेकिन कंठ के नीचे नहीं जाने दिया. दैट इज वाई वी कॉल शिवा एज नीलकंठा ऑल्सो. इसका क्या मतलब यह है? इसका मतलब यह है कि इन योर रोल एज एन इंसॉल्वेंसी प्रोफेशनल there would be many times when somebody or the other would be saying something to you that might hurt you, that might hurt your ego. So what you have to do, you got to ensure कि वो हलाल विष कंठ के नीचे नहीं जाना चाहिए. तो कंठ के नीचे नहीं गया वो शिव भगवान ने जो विष पिया, इसीलिए शिव भगवान जीवित रहे, लेकिन उनका कंठ खाली नीला हो गया, दैट इज वाई इट्स कॉल्ड नीलकंठ। तो वो अगर आप किसी की बात, नेगेटिव बात को अंदर लेने के बजाय यहाँ पर ही रोक देंगे, इट वॉन्ट अफेक्ट यू। सो बी लाइक नीलकंठा, ऑलवेज यूज गुड सेंस ऑफ ह्यूमर, यूज एंगर एज गांधी डिड। गांधी को चलती ट्रेन से बाहर फेंका गया ऐसा कहते हैं, और ऐसा कहते हैं कि उस समय गांधी ने डिसाइड किया कि अब जिस तरह से अंग्रेजों ने मुझे बाहर फेंका है चलती ट्रेन से, मैं एक दिन अंग्रेजों को मेरे देश से बाहर फेंकूंगा। ये कितना सच है कितना गलत है मुझे मालूम नहीं है, पर ये इसमें बात, इसका जो मैसेज ये है कि एंगर मत करिए, एंगर को यूज करिए फॉर प्रोडक्टिवली। बिलीव अदर पर्सन में ऑल्सो बी राइट, रिमेंबर लाइम एंड चिली। तो आपने देखा होगा ना, हम पुराने जमाने में कब जब घर से बाहर निकलते थे तो घर की देहली पर कुछ लोग है ना नींबू और मिर्ची टांग के रखते थे, अभी भी रखते हैं, कुछ लोग गाड़ियों में टांग के रखते हैं। तो रिमेंबर, उसका मतलब ये नहीं है कि वो कोई जादू टोन का है। उसका इतना सा ही मतलब ये है कि आप जब आप मिर्च को देखोगे और नींबू को देखोगे, तो जब आप घर से बाहर निकल रहे हो, आपकी मिर्ची पे निगाह जाएगी और आपकी नींबू पे निगाह जाएगी। तो इट इज लाइक ए रिमाइंडर, रिमाइंडर व्हाट, कि ये दुनिया में कुछ लोग हैं जो आपके जीवन में खटास लाने की कोशिश करेंगे, कुछ हैं जो आपके जीवन में कड़वापन लाने की कोशिश करेंगे। आपको क्या करना है, आपको याद रखना है कि मैं उनसे इन्फ्लुएंस नहीं होऊंगा, अपने जीवन में खट्टापन लेके नहीं आऊंगा, अपने जीवन में कड़वापन लेके नहीं आऊंगा। सो रिमेंबर दैट हैंगिंग लाइम एंड चिली। Presentation skills, I will tell you very simple way, but before that, let me once again throw it open to you. I'm sure somebody would like to add something about this story of chili and lemon. Okay, so how to be an effective presenter? Or I will tell you, you need only 5 things for becoming a powerful presenter. And what those 5 things are? Those 5 things are: number one, fit body and fit physical fitness; number two, fit mind; number three, fit voice; नंबर 4, फिट नॉलेज। तो कोर्ट में हियरिंग है, वहां पर डिस्कस प्रेजेंटेशन देना है एक तरह से, या सीओसी की मीटिंग में प्रेजेंटेशन देना है, या प्रोस्पेक्टिव एप्लीकेंट है उससे बात करनी है, या एम्प्लॉय से बात करनी है, या ऑपरेशनल क्रेडिटर से बात करनी है। यू हैव टू प्रेजेंट your view in a very systematic manner. And remember, your presentation can be effective or cannot be effective if you are not physically fit, if you are not mentally fit, if your voice is not supporting you, if you are not fully prepared. Knowledge fitness का मतलब क्या है? Fully prepared. And finally, the fit confidence. And please remember, if you take care of these 4 things, if you take care of these 4 things, this fifth thing will come automatically. And that will help you in becoming and giving and making effective presentation, powerful presentation. High level of intelligence, I think all of us know intelligence, emotional intelligence का मतलब क्या है? Anyone would like to tell me what is the meaning of emotional intelligence? Emotional intelligence would mean let whatever is happening outside not impact your emotions. So many times what happens, someone is saying something, we get hurt, then we harm ourselves. इमोशनल इंटेलिजेंस का मतलब क्या है कि सामने वाले ने जो बोलना है बोले, मुझे उसका कुछ बुरा मानना। प्रोफेशनल, रिमेंबर, such situation will happen so many times, and that is what needs to be taken care of. That is what is emotional intelligence. Have the virtue of attitude of एकलव्य, हम सभी को मालूम है Eklavya was a great archer. Was it because of Dronacharya? Answer is no. Have an attitude like Eklavya, and this is very interesting. And I'm sure when I'm discussing with you, you may be wondering as to where is Eklavya coming in the domain of insolvency and bankruptcy code, in the domain of insolvency resolution process. So where is he coming? And let me tell you, was it because of Dronacharya? And the answer is no. And why the answer is no? Because if Drona was to be the reason for Arjun to become a great archer, all the four Pandavas should also have been as good an archer as Arjun was. And why Pandavas only? All the 100 Kauravas also should have been as good archer as Arjun was. Why? Because उनको भी द्रोण ने ही सिखाया धनुर्विद्या. और आपको मालूम है कि दुनिया के इतिहास में एक और धनुर्धारी हुआ जो कि अर्जुन से भी बड़ा था, और उसका नाम था एकलव्य. और आपको मालूम है कि एकलव्य को तो द्रोण ने धनुर्विद्या नहीं सिखाई. द क्वेश्चन इज हाउ डिड एकलव्य become such a big archer even when Drona did not teach him archery? What is the factor that was there in Eklavya? If I was to be with you in a live session, I would have loved to ask this question to every one of you as to what is that one thing that Eklavya had which made him such a great archer that Drona had to go to him and ask his angutha, उसके दाहिने हाथ का अंगूठा मांगा. What did he have? One thing. And remember what Eklavya did. Eklavya went to jungle. और जंगल में उसने क्या किया? जंगल में उसने द्रोण की मूर्ति बनाई. और याद रखिए, एकलव्य वॉज नॉट अ मूर्तिकार, ही वॉज नॉट अ स्कल्प्टर. उसने जमीन का लोथा लिया, रख दिया और उसको समझा कि ये मेरे गुरु हैं, और ये सोच के ये मेरे गुरु हैं, उनसे बात कर करके उसने धनुर्विद्या सीखी. और एक दिन इतना बड़ा हो गया कि वो अर्जुन से भी ऊपर हुआ, और द्रोण को डर लगा कि कहीं दुनिया इसको याद ना रखे, और इसलिए उनसे जाके उसने अंगूठा मांगा. क्या था एकलव्य के अंदर? एकलव्य के अंदर था सेल्फ मोटिवेशन. Self motivation. And that is another thing that all of us need to make sure that we do a phenomenal job of our role as insolvency professional. Some lessons for the insolvency professionals. Number one, come out of the shell of a practicing professional and start acting as a businessman. Build an organization of competent and capable people to handle all aspects of CIRP liquidation. Take support and services of professionals. Delegate, delegate, delegate. Exercise your authorities and realize your strengths. Maintain transparency and accuracy in preparing the information memorandum. Avoid cold mass mails inviting quotes from valuers. So I have seen what a lot of insolvency professionals do whenever they are appointed insolvency professional for a corporate debtor. वो IBBI की वेबसाइट से सारे रजिस्टर्ड वैल्यूअर्स की मेल आईडी उठाते हैं और सबको एन मास एक मेल डाल देते हैं कि सेंड योर कोड. वेरी बैड प्रैक्टिस, वेरी बैड प्रैक्टिस. Why should you do that? You're wasting your time. You're wasting time of all those people who would receive your mail, because not many of them would be interested. So therefore, be focused. Pick up 3-4 non-people in whom you should also have the confidence. Talk to them. You will save your time. You will save their time, and pay them well. Pay them well, because then they would do a very good job for you. So avoid cold mass mails inviting quotes from valuers. Appoint competent and capable valuers, even if they are expensive. Ensure valuations are credible and withstand scrutiny. Keep a track of the valuation process and engage with valuation professionals. Get a good handle on valuation methods and approaches. recognize value of your role as an IP. As an IP, you are supposed to be the CEO of the corporate debtor. So act like one, not to succumb to pressures from COC or anyone. Don't compromise on your professional fees. Don't underquote. If you underquote, you underperform. If you underperform, you do a bad job. You do a bad job, you bring disreputation to yourself. Quote, absolutely fine. Strictly follow professional code of conducts and the ethics. So, friends, with this, I come to the close of the session. Uh, it is now 6:05 in my watch. In case if you have any question, I would be happy to take. Just to let you know about myself a little bit, I am a proud company secretary, practicing chartered accountant, registered valuer, insolvency professional, also on the board of a company called Suratwala Business Group Limited as an independent director and the chairman of the audit committee. I am also social auditor and corporate global corporate trainer. My vision is to reach knowledge of finance and awareness of work-life balance to everyone, committed to promote ESG and sustainability far and wide in a real sense of it. My beliefs are leaders think differently, do right things in right way. Grass grows by itself. Mango trees need to be planted and nurtured. तो घास अपने आप उग के आती है. अगर कुछ मतलब का काम करना है, बड़ा काम करना है, उसके लिए मेहनत करनी पड़ती है. As corporate debtor, as corporate trainer, not debtor. As a corporate trainer, I have training programs in more than 50 locations across the globe. These are some of the countries where I have delivered the program. This is Poland, this is Luxembourg, this is Ukraine, this is Canada, this is Costa Rica, this is Chicago, and this is Brazil, this is Belgium, this is France, this is also France, this is France, and this is Russia. I also promote work-life balance and have delivered training programs all over the world. This is Kazakhstan, this is Paris, this is also Kazakhstan, this is Czechoslovakia, this is Mexico, this is Poland, this is Brazil, this is for our children in Pune, for police people in Pune, chartered accountants, BCS in Lucknow, Luxembourg, and this is Poland. I'm a marathon runner, so I have run 50, 100 marathons, 100 half marathons. Also a cyclist, have cycled Europe and Pandharpur and so many other places. Have authored 2 books, You Are a Born Winner and Finance for Value Creation. Both these books are available on Amazon and Flipkart. I have my YouTube channel. There are 2200 videos on my YouTube channel. I'm also on LinkedIn and I have got 26,000 followers as it stands today. You are welcome to subscribe to my YouTube channel because my YouTube channel have got videos on finance, accounts, Companies Act, strategic management, India's insolvency, business valuation, India's economy, global economy, independent director, corporate governance, leadership, and work-life balance. So you can take the benefit of 2200 videos. So you can subscribe to my YouTube channel. Please remember, search by the name CA Pramod Jain. And now that you have seen me on screen, I'm sure because there are 2 Pramod Jain, and so you would be able to identify me. On my LinkedIn, I keep on uploading PPTs of my training programs. So जब भी मैं कहीं प्रोग्राम देता हूँ पूरी दुनिया में, तो जो भी PPT होता है मैं उसको सबके साथ में शेयर करता हूँ. But I don't share it with individuals. I upload these PPTs on my LinkedIn page. So in case if you are interested to get copy of my previous presentations and this presentation and the future presentation, you can subscribe to my LinkedIn page. Again, remember, search by the name CA Pramod Jain, and also on the YouTube channel by CA Pramod Jain. So with this, I come to the end of my session, wishing you all a grand success as IP, creating more value for all stakeholders. Thank you. So thank you so much.
It's a very great and excellent session,
अगर
sir. You're all
किसी के पास में
jack of
कोई
all
सवाल
trades,
है,
sir.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. It was a really nice and excellent session, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank
Thank
you,
you.
everyone. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sir. ठीक.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for sharing your valuable insights and knowledge and making this session interactive and insightful.